I can go get us a W. Hell yeah. Ready. Green. What the copy? Right foot down. We had to go flat. Unbelievable, man. Way to keep your head in it. Holy oh boy. Oh boy. Yeah. What? Yeah. I'm done with it. Fix your face. Set sail. Steve, you look beautiful. Look great. Ridiculous, dude. Holy. You see that? Holy cow. Good job, man. Two times, baby. Yeah. Holy crap.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to the NASCAR Weekly Podcast. My name is Eric Estep. I am your host this week, joined, as always, by three of my best friends in the whole wide world. Guys, I'm feeling really sentimental tonight. Darian Gilliam, a.k.a. Black Flags Matter, is here. We've got Jarrett Lundberg, also known as the Iceberg, and Danny B. Daniel Baldwin is joining us as well. I am remote for this one, so I apologize for the cheap earbud audio. Hopefully it's not making your ears bleed. I'm a little thrown off this evening, guys, because the chat is spamming bananas, just bananas everywhere. I don't know what that's about.
I might have set them up to do that. The thing is, I've already forgotten why I did it.
Yeah, he already forgot. I'm like, well, why? It's like, I don't know. I just told him that
This wasn't in the itinerary. Why are there bananas?
Yeah.
Going bananas to be back with this show. I
Yeah,
guess.
they're going bananas because we're live on Eric Estep. But he's in a whole different location this week.
I know. We're about to go wild, as it says in my Airbnb here behind me. But no, I just feel good to be back. I missed last week's show because I was traveling to Michigan. I couldn't miss this one, even though I'm actually traveling once again. But gentlemen, we're not here to talk about my busy travel schedule. We're instead here to talk NASCAR. And as we begin every show, we start off with some hot takes. Danny, you're leading us off. What do you want to get off your chest this week?
Oh, well, last week we kind of did the cold takes, and this week I'm probably doubling down on what I said last week because it's also my hot take for this week. RFK is a championship threat. RFK will have one car in the championship four. 2 wins now by Chris Buescher is showing great confidence. Brad Keselowski is looking good every week. There is 3 tracks in particular in the playoffs that I have got my eyes set on RFK. You've got Bristol, where Chris Buescher won last year, and also Brad Keselowski was looking like he could possibly win that race last year. Then there's Talladega in the middle round. Brad Keselowski's won there many times. He's also proven this year he can be a threat on the super speedways. Chris Buescher can also be a threat on those super speedways. And then there is Martinsville. That's a track where so far, I think we've actually seen a good short track program come out by RFK. So I think that they could have what it takes to win at Martinsville as well. Now, whether that's one car doing that or one car one time, another car another time, I'm not sure. But either way, I think there is a path where RFK could get one of their cars in the championship four this year.
That would be a pretty huge upset. Darian, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go for it. What do you got?
No, you didn't cut me off. You're good. While RFK is on the rise, half of Hendrick Motorsports is on the decline, specifically the 9 and the 48. Fortunately, they had problems, that were totally out of their control. Well, at least one of them did, but then I believe Bowman got wrecked, correct? Did he get bumped?
Caught up in a wreck. Yeah.
Okay. He got caught up in some mischief, unfortunately. So now they're in must-win situations. I've been seeing stuff where some fans are blaming, they're blaming Elliott, and they're like, oh, well, maybe they need to change crew chiefs, blah, blah, blah. I don't know I don't know about, changing the whole crew chiefs type deal, but I mean, if these types of performances continue, I don't know, like maybe perhaps during the offseason, they might need to look into some personnel changes over there. I don't know, and I don't know if I'd even say wholesale ones, but, just some little changes here or there, or maybe if it just continues to go down on the decline, unfortunately, maybe they do need to make some wholesale changes with the 9 and the 48. Maybe do they swap crews? Maybe, car chiefs, that sort of thing. I'm not sure, but right now, I don't know, just the 9 and the 48 aren't looking too good at the moment. And if they don't improve, maybe they need to make some wholesale personnel changes to both of those teams.
That is pretty bold. But Jarrett, do you have something that can top that?
Yes, I do. So I watched David Land's video today, and it kind of put into words some of the stuff, at least before he went, like not the solutions, but some of the problems, put into words what I was kind of thinking about the Brickyard. I think that bringing back the Oval will be something that will help in the short term. We'll have some pretty cool, what ifs answered with racing the next gen there. But I'm going to say this: bringing back the Oval isn't going to fix Indy. I don't think at this point Indy, looking at it from the lens of just a normal race weekend, anything is really going to fix it. I think instead of Hendrick teams needing wholesale changes, there need to be wholesale changes to how NASCAR approaches being in Indianapolis. They need to think completely outside the box in ways they never have before on a closed course, because let's be honest, they've done that this year with at least a street course. And they need to not be afraid of changing stuff up. Teams be damned of what they think of it, as well as fans, and give it a shot. Because Indianapolis, from what it sounds like, is scaling back on events, and NASCAR needs to make itself a marquee event there. Maybe not for 200, 300,000 people, but 100,000. That's something NASCAR can do nowadays. I think that my hot take is that the Oval isn't going to fix it alone, because it's going to take more.
One idea I had in my video today, Jarrett, just to sort of add on to your point, was next year with NBC broadcasting the Olympics in late July, early August, maybe you line up the schedule so that the Brickyard 400 can be the week after, so that all those weeks leading up, NBC can broadcast to the entire United States audience that, hey, the Brickyard 400 is back. I don't know if that would help in-person attendance, but that might at least boost TV ratings a bit. So I'm kind of with you on that idea. More than just the Oval is needed to make that event big. I'll wrap things up with my hot take. We're going to talk about this a little more later on, but I believe Front Row Motorsports is making a mistake picking Todd Gilliland over Zane Smith. Look, I get their reasoning. Todd Gilliland, he's got 2 years of Cup experience now, next-gen experience, and he's clearly improved from year one to year two. We can't say that about Harrison Burton. We can't say that about Justin Haley. Heck, Austin Cindric's probably gotten worse in year two. So Todd Gilliland deserves a ton of credit. I don't want this to come off as I'm hating on Todd Gilliland. I just believe Zane Smith still has a higher ceiling. Zane has obviously been to 3 straight Truck Series championship races. And you guys forget that for a couple years there, Zane Smith and Todd Gilliland raced head-to-head in comparable equipment in the Truck Series, and Zane Smith was better consistently. So I get Front Row's reasoning. They built something good this year. They want to keep it stable going forward, but I ultimately think Zane Smith, when it's all said and done, will have a more successful Cup Series career than Todd Gilliland. So, Front Row was in a good spot here. They didn't really have a wrong answer. I just think Zane Smith would have been the more correct answer. With that being said, though, gentlemen, I want to turn things over to the chat and ask them who had the hottest take. We have over 500 live viewers right now on YouTube. We've also gotten a handful of super chats, which we will get to at the top of the hour. But while everyone's voting on the hot take segment, I guess we can talk a little about Michigan. Who wants to lead things off? I was there for Sunday's portion of the Cup race, the first 74, 75 laps. I was not able to stay. But Jared, if I'm not mistaken, you saw your first ever NASCAR race at Michigan many years ago. So what did you think of the massive Sunday crowd that turned out? Because I was actually impressed. There was more traffic than I expected going in on Sunday.
Well, I'm happy seeing that, and it's actually funny you bring that up, because I don't know where I put it, but I actually found, I think it's right here. I'm going to bring it out. I found my first ever ticket to a NASCAR race ever with that. So if you bear with me for a moment, I'm going to lean off camera and grab it. I swear I'm not just like hiding here from saying anything, because I knew I needed it for something. Hold on.
Yeah, and just to go off of what Danny said in the chat, none of us will be at Indy this week. Yeah, none of us.
Unfortunately not. Also, I'm leading the hot take segment right now by a wide margin.
Yeah,
I knew you were gonna win. Yeah,
I knew you'd win that. Yeah,
I said that in the chat.
I thought your take, Darian, on having to swap out crew members at Hendrick.
Nah, as soon as I heard Todd Gilliland, I was
the second you said Todd Gilliland mistake, because he has earned that ride.
Yeah, it was like, yep, that's a hot one. I was like, yep, that's a hot one.
We'll debate it more later on. I don't know how you.
Oh, Next Hill Cup.
Yeah,
is that Kyle Busch on the cover, or who is that?
That's
Greg Biffle.
That's Greg Biffle, bro.
I'm on my phone. It's a small screen. I'm happy to look really closely.
Hey, to be fair, most pictures of drivers from back then had washed out faces, and they all had that style of sunglasses on, so it's hard to tell when it's in black and white.
Hey, I remember. Reed Sorensen got his first career top 5 that day. I remember that.
That's a very specific thing to remember.
I want to bring some cool stuff up that I forgot about. This one, tickets cost about the same then as they do now, which is really funny.
That's actually crazy.
So whenever people are like, they're more expensive.
No, these were like way off to the side in the turns, and they were $65, which certain tickets that are similar at Michigan are less now, actually, which is even funnier now that you say it. And it has the top 3 finishers of the year before. Greg Biffle, Tony Stewart, Mark Martin. I figured I'd bring that up. But as for this decade, I will say, one, I thought it was awesome seeing the crowd for the second year in a row pretty strong. But honestly, I think if you're looking in total size, scope, everything like that, probably the strongest crowd that Michigan's had in 8 or 9 years. I
think they said, did they say since 2015? I thought I read somewhere that was their biggest crowd.
That would actually add up. Because I was doing an estimate, and it looked like, if you add in the infield, like they were talking about, I would say estimated around maybe, I'd say close to 50,000, which for Michigan nowadays is really good. And looking at the numbers, 50, 60,000 is what Michigan got in 2015. So, wow, 2015 is 8 years ago. So I got to say, I think this is another very big push, at least attendance-wise, showing why tracks having one date is good for the tracks, at least optically. As for the racing, I personally thought the first 75 laps was better overall racing on Sunday compared to Monday. But I thought that it was still a solid 8 or 9 out of 10 race. There's some problems that need to be dealt with still, and the track still needs to wear a bit more to where it was in like the 2000s and 2010, 2011, right before the repave. But I think it's very promising that the first 2 races at this track have been pretty darn good so far. So that'd be my take. I was pretty happy with it.
Thank you, Next Gens. Thank you.
Some of my earliest memories of being a race fan was watching cars run. Like they'd be battling at Michigan with one guy running the wall and the other guy down almost on the grass. Like that was how wide this track used to be. It's nowhere close to that now. But I agree, it was still a very competitive race. It was sketchy, especially on Sunday. We'll talk about how this affects the playoffs, but Chase Elliott had a flat tire, crashed out. Kyle Busch crashed out. Christopher Bell crashed, but not out. We had it was, I think, Cindric closes Todd Gillen into the wall. That caused Bowman to get caught up and crash. So there were more incidents. Byron, forgot about William Byron hitting the wall as well. There were a lot of incidents on Sunday, not as many on Monday. I think the race ended with like a 60 or 70 lap long green flag run, but it was still really exciting. I want to bring Danny and Darian in here and talk about the winner, though. I'll let Danny start us off. Chris Buescher has gone back to back. I'm going to ask everyone this question, but Danny, you're going first. 2 wins in a row. This is, I think, the 9th straight Michigan win for Ford, something like that. How far can Chris Buescher and his RFK teammate Brad Keselowski go in the playoffs this year?
I'm really torn. I think one of them makes the championship 4. I just don't know which one it is. I guess to me, it depends on who carries that momentum in the first round. If it's Brad who wins Bristol, then it's probably Brad. If it's Chris Buescher who wins Bristol, I think he's got potential to, get to the round of 8, maybe championship 4.
That would be pretty crazy. What do you think, Darian? Danny, I should have known his hot take, of course, but Darian, do you think a Roush car could actually get to Phoenix?
I mean, it's the NASCAR playoffs. Chase Briscoe got to the championship, or no, not championship 8. He got to the round of 8 and nearly made the championship 4. I mean, like he was leading for, a few laps there at Martinsville towards the end. And you were like, whoa, hey, is he going to make it here? So look, anything's possible, man. I mean, the playoffs, they're basically 3 race, 3 race stretches, so you just got to be the best in those 3 races or, just be top 12, top 8, to advance. So I can see it.
Really, it's 3 races each round, but you could focus on one particular track.
Exactly. Yeah.
You could put all your bets in one basket each round. If you're RFK, circle Bristol. You guys got one of you that's to win there. Talladega, you got to work together. That kind of deal there to get one of you guys in victory lane. It's the kind of game that RFK's got to be ready to play. And then Brad being the owner, he's got more on the line. He's probably not going to be as selfish. If he thinks there's a better shot to get there with Chris Buescher, he's going to do everything he can, especially at a track like Talladega.
Yeah,
the chat seems confident in round of 8. Like Stone Racing, Alessandro, Mike Manning, Nick, they're all saying at least one will make it to the round of 8. Gavin Novak sent a super chat earlier saying Brad Keselowski should win Owner of the Year if there was such an award in NASCAR.
He will be look. Once he's up for the NASCAR Hall of Fame, trust me, that'll be on his resume. Bringing Roush back to some extent. But
Comeback team of the year. I think that's
yes,
something.
I could see that. Yeah,
comeback
definitely.
team of the year, comeback team of the century, maybe even.
Yeah,
So far.
but yeah, I mean, I could totally see one of them making it, even though it sounds like kind of far fetched. Even though they're coming off of 2 straight victories. I mean, we still got a long way to go. The playoffs haven't started yet. But I mean, like, as far as their floor is concerned, I mean, I could see only one of them maybe somehow being bumped out of the round of 16 off of like some craziness happening. But then I don't know, like, I guess, the that's their floor, but then the ceilings, maybe one of them in the championship 4 somehow. So,
kind of going off that, I do think that it wouldn't necessarily surprise me as much as others before if Buescher or Keselowski got to the Final Four. I'm not going to bet on that right now. I think that's less than likely. I think round of 8 is the way to look at it. But if we're looking at comparisons here, and we're going back to 2015 again, I think that RFK, at least into this part of the year, this kind of middle part of the year, second, third of the year, give or take until now, I think their comparison draws more to if there was a 2-car furniture row in 2015. I think going into 2015, nobody really thought. I mean, you remember the year before, I think Truex ran almost outside the top 30 in points with Furniture Row. Yeah, they had that good year with Kurt Busch, but they never really were anyone really too much to talk to, kind of like Roush has been since about 2014, 15.
Cole Pern showed up in 15, I think, and that's when they really took off.
Yep.
And I think that, maybe a little bit delay with Keselowski showing up, but this team started showing a bit more speed at the end of last year. And then they started this year where they're kind of that middle of the road. But, and
they were the best cars at Daytona this year.
Yeah. I think it was Brad who said this, and I forget what race it was, but when that big penalty hit them at the start of last year, I think he said that was actually the best thing that ever happened to them because it made them play exactly by the rule book after that, make 0 mistakes, and it really improved them.
Well, and so I guess where I'm getting at this is, when they were talking to Brad in the media center or somewhere during the weekend, I saw him have like a quote of like they want to move on to being a 3-car team. Like they're already eyeing expansion for the future. It won't be obviously next year, but this is a team that I think has an actual game plan now. Whereas before, I think they were just throwing stuff against the wall within what they already had, and so it was just bouncing back in their face. I think this team right now, this year isn't the year. I think they're still a year, 2 years away. But this is a team, in my opinion, that if nothing goes horrendously wrong, is built to win in the long term.
Yeah, I know. I'm very excited with what we've seen from RFK. Although I will caution everyone, I'm high on Chris Buescher. I love seeing the 17-car do well. I think round of 8 is certainly within the realm of possibility. But remember, 1 year ago, Kevin Harvick won these same 2 races back to back. And I know, I think Darlington that was the crappy ass parts quote. He ran into some trouble that wasn't his own doing, but he was bounced in the first round last season. Yeah. Kevin Harvick was. So, I think there's a great chance an RFK car goes deep in the playoffs, but I'm just saying, we're talking about historical trends,
I think right now, they remind me of a NASCAR equivalent of my Tennessee Volunteers football. Used to be really great way back in the day. Then we got really trash, and now we're showing signs of resurgency. Thought last year they could be in the playoffs. They didn't. So maybe I'm seeing the same thing. Maybe I'm seeing that false hope for RFK right now, and then they'll get humbled later on.
I don't think it's false hope. I get the Harvick comparison, and I was the same way on Harvick last year. I'm like really big on him, which I still think if it was for crappy ass parts, he would have made it past that round for the most part.
That's probably true.
But I'm going to say this. This isn't Stewart-Haas Racing we're talking about. This is a completely different team with a new slate. This really isn't Roush, I would say, at this point. This is Keselowski. Like, because there's a clear dividing line between RFR and RFK. And I think it's pretty clear the influence Keselowski's bringing in and some of the stuff they talked about the culture changing, things like that. I think that is really where you're seeing the big difference. Stewart-Haas Racing has one of the best drivers breaking his back trying to bring him along. RFK, I think, has a plan.
And I was about to say something too about that Jared just brought up. Eric, that was funny you brought up Harvey, because I think I was one of the people last year that said, oh yeah, like he's gonna make the championship 4. He's a strong favorite now. He's back, and then yeah, look what happened. So that's why I said the floor for them could be one of them out of the round of 16. I don't think both of them would be, but I mean, I feel like a lot would have to happen, of course. But hey, a lot happened to Harvick. I mean, it's the playoffs. So, and also, and really quick in the chat, shout out to Ellie, bro. Ellie puts out like some dope ass content, man. He's like one of the new guys on the scene. What's
Ellie
up,
Productions.
Man? Yeah, I love his stuff, man.
Good to see Ellie Productions in the chat. We can talk a little more about Chris Buescher and RFK, but I want to transition to talking about some of the other drivers who were good. I mean, I sound like such a Roush downer here. Chris Buescher won the race, but let's be honest, Tyler Reddick was going to win that race until his pit crew left a wheel loose, and Martin Truex Jr. had a faster car at the end, but Buescher held on with track position.
Okay.
Well, where do we want to start with Reddick? Where do we go? What do we
go ahead, Dan.
I don't want to say Reddick was going to win it, because same thing that we saw with Truex at the end, he couldn't get around him. Who's to say Reddick could be able to get around? Because
everyone was ahead of him.
Yeah, Reddick was ahead of Buescher.
Was he?
Yeah.
Yeah, when he came
back.
Well,
but here's the thing.
But I thought everyone was saying you can't pass with this car.
But here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. And I had tweeted about this about Bubba. I'm like, hey, Bubba's running up front. But hey, the real question is when is his crew going to screw it up? And, that also applies to Reddick, because they're teammates. And then look, as soon as I saw Reddick up there, I was like, this is too good to be true. It's too good to be true. And what do you know? Like clockwork.
He was rightfully pissed on the radio. He was
absolutely
like he knew once again our pit crew has ruined the race.
He sounded like a kid on Rocket League.
Mm-hmm. And like Eric, like Eric says in the chat, I did tweet that too. He says, "Who needs Ferrari when you have 2311?" Exactly. Well, that's our Ferrari.
This is my problem here, and we talked about it last week, and we talked about it the week before, and we talked about it so many times this year. Most of the time with Bubba, but it's a 2311 issue at this point. Mm-hmm. I don't know what they have to do, who they have to hire, if they got to scout, if they got to just do what Gibbs did about 10 years ago when they poached people from Hendrick Motorsports when they were having all the good stops. I don't know what they have to do at this point, but this team, in my opinion, is capped out where they are right now. If they don't fix the pit crews and have a almost top-down, again, kind of like with RFK and Trackhouse, a culture change, this team will be a perennial 12th to 15th place team, no matter the drivers. You've seen it. Bubba will race his ass off, get screwed by his pit crew on the last stop. You'll see Reddick now had a couple races where he was running fast and gets screwed on one of the last stops or during the race. This team, I think, could have 3 or 4 more wins this year and maybe last year combined. If you look at Bubba had the Kansas race cost for him. Luckily, Kurt Busch got that one. But I swear we're using so many damn analogies tonight, but it's kind of like when we talked to Tree about his Steelers and the high end talent. That's what they're doing with the drivers. The drivers, the high end talent, trying to bail their asses out every pit stop.
Here I come to save the day. No, but it's a shame, really, because they are driving their asses off and stuff, and they're like losing these races hand over fist because, again, they're basically capped out, I feel like. And this is the type of problem where you can't solve it during the season. No. I mean, like, look, we had just talked about we had just had this little debate a couple weeks ago, I think, talking about, okay, like, should the 54 swap crews with one of the 2311 guys. And I was like, well, if he doesn't make the playoffs, sure, but I mean, that would just be a short-term solution, but I mean, this is the type of thing where they just need to just spray the hose it down, I don't know, maybe get rid of most of the guys and stuff and just start anew, because it's happened too many times over basically almost 2 seasons now. So enough's enough.
Dude, what's happened? We're on season 3.
Oh, it happened in 2021. as well?
Yeah, they keep renewing this show. And it just,
damn. Oh, yeah. Oh, damn. See, there were some moments I forgot from 2021. Damn. So basically, since the team's existence. Yeah. Come on now. Almost 3 seasons.
Big C in the chat said Michael Jordan is not supposed to have his name on something remotely involved with choking. It just doesn't add up.
Hey, look, he was the Hornets owner, so instead of choking, he did a lot of losing.
I brought that
first rodeo.
I brought that up in my video about 2311. That it's like, if you look at MJ whenever he's in the ownership role, like it's just spinning the wheels, and it's the same thing. Except I think this team, racing wise, I think wins a bit more than Charlotte did.
Yeah. Well, now he sold his share. So like now he has all of his time dedicated to 2311. So we'll see.
Yeah.
Right.
Did you hear Denny Hamlin on his podcast? He said that Jordan has been more involved lately since selling the Hornets.
I don't know. Is that a good or a bad thing, right?
I don't know. It's hard to tell. I wanted
to throw a
to
basketball at somebody's face.
Yeah.
I did want to shout out the chat though. I appreciate all the Rocket League quick chat options that they were spamming a minute ago.
Oh yeah.
Nice shot. Defending. I saw that. That was fun.
And shout out to the FBI. FBI's in there too.
The FBI is in our chat. Oh gosh, everybody, best behavior.
The FBI is always in our chat. Let's be real.
I don't know if we should admit that.
Still, Davey.
Well, I wanted to talk, besides Reddick, who, of course, pit crew choked at the end. Martin Truex Jr. was probably the fastest car all day. I do think Buescher caught up, and Truex was complaining of being loose later in this race. So I do think that's how the two sides kind of evened out. But Truex was really fast again. His teammate Denny Hamlin drove up to third. But, the other RFK car, Keselowski, got a top 5 as well. So I wanted to ask you guys, and I'll start with you, Jarrett. Right now, who are your championship 4 picks? Do you think we have 2 or 3 guys that are just clear front runners?
Truex for sure. At this point, I think that, if you look, and this is why I don't regret not picking him to even make the playoffs this year. They have reversed about 4 years of regression on Truex. Now he's not winning, 8-9 races, or whatever, but they were in clear regression. That whole team was, and they're head and shoulders above anyone else around him. So Truex for sure. After that, it's a crapshoot because it's whoever has the momentum. I mean, if you look bonus points wise, you'd have to say Byron and Busch, but I don't trust Kyle Busch at Martinsville. He's very hit or miss. Byron, I say I would trust, especially if I'm assuming at that point, there would probably only be 2 Hendrick cars that are in the running at that point for the round of 8. Onward, so I'd say the 19, 24. I'm not picking the 11. I just think that
really
he's. I mean, you saw the complete
too much talking.
He's done a lot of talking and not much championship winning.
Literally talking podcaster now.
But
yeah,
he's my problem with Hamlin is you saw the night and day difference between how he and Truex race, and Truex lost this battle. But Truex has won a war before. He has won a championship. So when people ripping on Truex, I don't see it too much. I can't put. I don't know, man. At this point, I guess momentum wise, you could say the 17, but I won't go that far yet. The 19 and 24 are the only ones I can positively say, which is funny as hell with my preseason predictions. That I can positively say making it. Bell has been inconsistent. I guess
Reddick is the pit crew.
If Larson could not have bad luck, he could make it, but
Blaney has been inconsistent.
Blaney has collapsed.
Yeah, and we were giving him props too. He was the points leader at one point. Now he's 10th.
19, 24. I guess I'll put the 5 if they can get it together. And
have we mentioned Kyle Busch yet? Because he'd be in my championship 4.
I don't trust him in Martinsville though.
Yeah,
he'll figure it out. He made a mistake this weekend at Michigan, but I think he had a car capable of winning that race, or at least being in contention. I think maybe couldn't have run with Truex, but he would have been in the mix.
And I can't even say Chastain either. I think Chastain could.
No.
I don't trust Trackhouse right now. They need to do this a couple more weeks.
Even though Suarez did step it up a little, but
Suarez had a great day.
Still a long
way. But he needs to. He needs to be trying to salvage. He's only 5 points back.
I guess I'll put. Because of points, I'll put Kyle Busch. But I am not confident whatsoever in Kyle Busch. He could have a very quick trip out of the playoffs for all we know.
Oh, that was a good pun. Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
I got blocked by Kyle Busch fans for that this week. It was a nice achievement.
Man.
For a fan base that rips on Chase Elliott fans for being soft, they're pretty soft too.
Pretty soft.
Funny little story. I was actually walking through the garage when Kyle Busch wrecked this weekend, and so I'm like, I'm just gonna hang out. They're bringing the car in. He tries to pull in. He can't make that turn. I don't know if they showed on TV. He kind of got stuck, and so he just gets out of his car and immediately storms off, as he does, just to his hauler. And it's funny, the AMR safety crew then parks their little cart outside of his hauler waiting for him to come out because he has to go to the infield care center. He was involved in a crash. Rules are rules, procedures are procedures. And they wait for like 5 minutes. Kyle Busch comes out, now dressed in just like a polo shirt and jeans, and just walks right by them. These poor safety crew have to like jog after him, flag him down. He eventually gets on the cart, rides by me. And you guys remember that meme from like 5 or 6 years ago? Kyle Busch at a press conference doing this.
Yeah.
That's the exact face he was making on the back of this little golf cart. He was just, for our listening audience, just think of like the mopiest face someone could make. Like,
yours.
Okay, at that point, I get why it's a policy, but at that point, if it's very clear, hey, I'm fine, I'm also pissed. Why don't you just look at my head right now?
That's a concussion symptom.
Yeah,
I know what it sucks because I'm sure he's fine. I'm sure he's fine.
Hey, you never know. You never know. So better be safe than sorry. But Jared,
my point of telling that story was just to say, like, I think Kyle Busch had really high expectations going into this race, and he was just mad at himself that he made a mistake early. But like, he wore his emotions on his sleeve, as we know him to do.
Yeah, but Jared, who'd you say your final four was, or who'd you think it would be?
If push came to shove, I guess I'd say Truex, Larson, Byron, and Busch. But I am not confident on Larson or Kyle Busch, or even Byron at this point. Truex is the only one I'm confident in, so knowing that he'll be the only one of those three, it doesn't make it.
If I had to give four right now, I think I would say Truex, I would say Hamlin, Larson, and it's a toss-up between either Christopher Bell or Chris Buescher.
Wow, no Byron. Interesting.
Yeah. All right. I'm gonna go with Truex for sure. I'll go with Hamlin, but I don't know. I don't see him winning the championship as usual.
He proved he can get there.
Yeah, good point. And I know Byron. I know he's been red hot. I gotta have Byron in there. But since it's the playoffs, though, I feel like there's got to be like some type of, sort of a bit of a wild card in there, right? Like somebody who, isn't totally an underdog, but one you may not have, fully expected to make the championship for. So I'll go with Harvick making it somehow. He's putting the team on his back. I will somehow go with him.
Shades of Jeff Gordon in his final year.
Yeah. Shades of Darren Sharp. I'll put the team on my back like Greg Jennings.
I would put Truex in. I'm higher on Denny Hamlin than I think a lot of y'all are. I think I made an enemy in Larson the other week, but he's consistently fast. I'm going to trust Byron. He's got a lot of playoff points. And then I'm going to go Kyle Busch. I think Kyle Busch will sneak into the championship for. I picked that car to win the title last year. If Kyle Busch is driving it, his odds only get better. You know what I mean? So while we're talking about playoffs real quick, though, I want to look at the playoff bubble. Jared, I know you have a special graphic.
It's interesting. It's interesting.
But 14th up, I mean, even the guys that don't have wins are probably locked in at this point. Bubba Wallace extended his cushion by a few points. He's now 58 points to the good. Ty Gibbs moved into 16th. He's now +3. Michael McDowell, who for the second week in a row just left a lot of points on the table, is now -3, the first driver out. Daniel Suarez made up about 30 points. He's now only 5 points out, so very close around that 16th place cut line. AJ Allmendinger still -24. And Alex Bowman, of course, caught up in a wreck -44. I don't even have Chase Elliott's numbers listed, but I think he's now -50 or 60. Bowman and Elliott more than likely in must-win. Well, Elliott for sure in must-win territory with 3 regular season races to go. I don't really know the best way to phrase this question, y'all, but Ty Gibbs currently holding on to the last spot. Let's say Bubba Wallace gets in. I feel pretty confident right now Bubba's going to get in unless we get 2 different winners. So Danny, who gets that last spot? 16.
McDowell.
Okay. Darian.
Look, I had Ty Gibbs to make the playoffs at the beginning of the season, so I might as well go with Ty, man. Look, I didn't think it would happen at first because I was like, okay, well, he was starting to be a little more consistent, but then he had, a few DNFs here and there. But then all of a sudden he started to pick it up again. And I don't know, I'm not saying, he's a better driver than McDowell right now. Like I know, he still has a long way to go, but, I feel like he's, good enough. And also, based on his equipment, I'd say he, somehow makes it in the final spot.
Can I just back up? Because I feel like I didn't say enough of why McDowell.
Just McDowell.
2 road courses, Daytona. that sets up perfectly for Michael McDowell.
I like Need for Speed in the chat, of course, says Ty Dillon.
I'm looking at it. This is tough because Gibbs and McDowell and Suarez and Allmendinger are all good at road courses and all are decent to good at super speedways. So push come to shove, I want McDowell so bad. I want it so bad. I don't see it happening. I think the battle's between Ty Gibbs and Daniel Suarez, and I'm leaning Gibbs. I'm leaning Gibbs. I think that coming back to tracks he raced at before is going to help him. He's shown to improve every time he goes back to tracks he's raced at before. Of course, the X factor being Daytona is going to be the difficult one, but man, if he falters, I'd go Suarez right off the bat. I like McDowell, but he's doing a lot with a little.
I think Daniel Suarez has had a couple good weeks in a row now. Well, actually, I don't remember. What did he do at Richmond? I don't remember how he ran at Richmond.
Oh, he was
good.
terrible. No, he was terrible.
Was awful.
That's right.
He was outside the top 30.
Was it Pocono he did well at? He had a decent run somewhere recently, but Michigan, he was a standout. He collected a bunch of stage points. So I feel good about Daniel Suarez, but I'm also going to take Ty Gibbs. He's got the least experience of the group, but I think he's driving the best car consistently. And I like what you just said, Jarrett, going back to places for the second time in many cases, that it works in his favor. And he is a good little road racer. So I would expect him to hold his own the next 2 weeks. That being said, spoiler alert, I'm picking Chase Elliott to win Watkins Glen. So I actually think Chase Elliott will get the final spot. If he falters at Watkins Glen or just doesn't manage to win, then Ty Gibbs gets the last spot if it comes down to points. Chat has been giving their suggestions. A lot of Suarez and McDowell's, honestly. A few Ty Gibbs, a couple Allmendingers. Looking forward to the road courses. But
I feel like fans are going to overlook Ty Gibbs because they don't like him, but that team is peaking at the right time.
Yeah,
they're getting slowly better as the season goes.
And I feel like you can make a case. I mean, like, since they're so close, you can make a case for Gibbs, McDowell, and Suarez. But then also, hey, don't forget about Allmendinger, Bowman right there too, still in the thick of it, sort of. But hey, we're coming up on some road courses. We'll see.
Bowman's no Fred.
Hey, don't give up hope, though. He still drives for Hendrick, though, right? So you never give up hope.
Just because Casey Mears drove for Hendrick.
Oh, wait.
He also won.
Are we comparing Bowman to Casey?
Oh, my God. No. I have to argue to Danny why Bowman is a valid driver here. I mean,
this year has been a wash for a while.
Yeah, but there's been so many times, too, where, like, look at Casey Kane in 2014 and 2017. Team had no business being up there. Got to win out of nowhere.
Every race since he's come back, if Bowman was having a halfway decent day, something happened and he wrecked.
Hey, you never know. It ain't over until it's over. Until the final lap at Daytona.
Ross Crashdane in the chat is supporting Alex Bowman. And fun fact, guys, this is a fun fact, just a fun story. I actually got to meet Ross Crashdane at Michigan this weekend.
Oh, hey.
Always in the chat. We appreciate your memes, Ross Crashdane, or just the sense of humor for sure.
Hey, thank you, bro.
It's good to meet you this weekend. Okay, we all kind of have different takes on who might snag that last playoff spot. Before we move on from the Cup race, let's go over the TV ratings. It was a little funky because obviously the race got postponed, but on Sunday, the first 75 laps drew in an average of 2.6 million viewers, which was actually flat with the same race last year, actually up 4% from 2021 and up 10% from the pandemic season. And that's without the race going to the finish. If the race had gone all the way on Sunday, the viewership typically peaks at the very end. I think the numbers would have been even higher. So another stat that stood out to me, and Jarrett actually documented this, but 24% of viewers were in the key age 18 to 49 demographic, which is a few percentage points higher than most Cup races average. The Xfinity race, and I saw NBC bragging about this today, and they should, drew in 1.65 million viewers on big NBC. That was the most watched Xfinity race on NBC since 2017. It was actually the most watched sporting event in the entire country on Saturday. So big wins for the Xfinity series. Not Jarrett. Jarrett's on the controls, but Darian, we need your blessing before we move on to this next segment.
Yes, sir. It's time for the poll, the famous iceberg poll on the NASCAR Weekly Podcast.
I go again. Okay. I'll read them then. So I asked, what'd you think of the 2023 Firekeepers Casino 400? 46% of you said great, 37 good, 83 positive, 12 average, 3 below average, 2 bad, 5 net negative.
Pretty good.
The first comment, shocker, from Spencer.
Mm.
Positive, negative, or meme?
I will go with a meme.
It's a Monday race. He had all day to think about this one, so it's a meme.
Yeah, I think this is like probably the most clever meme in the history of NWP memes.
Yeah.
What did we all do in the past that got Mother Nature so angry at us this year? I don't need sleep. I need answers.
Oh no, he's just genuinely concerned.
Yeah, I mean, like,
He's actually upset.
hey, 17 of the 25 cup races ran, or 17 of the something, I don't know, I can't remember. So I think it was like 17 races have been affected by rain or something.
Actually, in the chat, Tank Slapper here has it. 17 out of 25 weekends have had at least one session during the weekend in all 3 series affected by weather. That's a 68% chance that when NASCAR comes to town, weather will be in your area that weekend.
Yeah.
Which shout out to, is it Jonathan Field is how you say his name?
I think so. Yeah,
he's
that's
the one
who tweeted it.
Yeah, he's the one who compiled it all. So credit where credit's due.
Nice.
Let's see. Boost says, I don't know how anyone could unbiasedly dislike this race. Great racing, start to finish, amazing duel to the checkers, and a great winner, 9 out of 10.
Yeah. I agree. I like that.
Let's see. Bike Scout says, it's so good to see RFK be a legit team once again. Also, great race, exciting moments, various pit strategies, and comers and goers.
Mm-hmm.
Milton says, Chris Buescher's best win yet. Well, there's not many to choose from, but showed...
Well, there's 4 now.
Showed great versatility and skill to beat the King of Monday.
Oh, yeah,
Monday
he ties...
morning.
Oh, yeah, with that 4th win, he ties the great Joe Nemechek in career wins. Let's go. Moving up the ranks.
NRG Mobile 48 says, out of all 13 Michigan races I've seen since being a fan, this was the best Michigan race I've ever seen. And to think that I wanted Michigan to become a short track rather than Auto Club a couple years ago. The next gen effect is real at 1.5 mile and bigger tracks.
Whoa,
Yeah, and the crowds at Pocono the last 2 years, at Michigan, like fans are like noticing a difference, I think.
Yeah, but I just got to worry about that short track.
Elite Peep says, this was a great race. Beautiful racing between Buescher and Truex. I'll scroll down to the middle and then we'll get to the gutter.
The mid comments.
Yeah.
Irvin Alvarado says, 30,000 people in Prosper, Texas celebrating Buescher's win, and Brad K also wins as an owner for RFK in Michigan.
Yeah, we didn't hear that this week.
Gosh.
Yeah, I think he realized don't say that.
Yeah, ever again.
When Tyler, this is from Denny Delivers, when Tyler spun with a loose wheel. What a save, what a save, what a save. Pit crew disabled for 10 seconds. A JGR for life says this is the best that Roush has looked since the COT era.
Yeah.
Let's scroll down to the gutter.
No.
Carl Edwards had a couple of years in the Gen 6.
Yeah, decent. 13 and 14, he was decent. He was winning some races, but...
All right, we got it, baby. Here we go. Beautiful Angel Blossom says, it's always good when a non-Hendrick car wins.
No surprise they got downvoted.
Yeah.
Jordan Shepard says, MTJ should have won, 0 out of 10. And
so he's just bitter.
Dwayne says, I was at work, damn it.
Oh,
that was the lowest voted. Poor Dwayne.
Damn.
Wow. They're hating on this guy for having a job.
He's just out here working.
Yeah.
He's just trying to support himself and his family, and people are hating on him for it.
Yeah, some people got stuff to do, man. They got bills to pay. They can't watch races all the time sometimes.
I want to thank everyone for voting and leaving their comments. Even the gutter comments.
Yep, and that'll conclude this edition of the famous Iceberg Poll on the NASCAR Weekly Podcast.
Gentlemen, let's touch on that record-setting Xfinity Series race, the most viewed NBC Xfinity race in 6 years. John Hunter Nemechek wins his 5th race of the season. I think he extends his series-leading win total, but he got into it with his part-time Joe Gibbs Racing teammate Ty Gibbs. Early on, he kind of got to the back of Gibbs in turn 2. They both spun. No harm, no foul. Both, well, maybe there's a little damage on Gibbs's car, but they both still ran okay and were competitive at different points. At least, obviously, Nemechek won the race.
He later took responsibility in his post-race interview. He apologized.
He immediately apologized, which I thought was interesting. But Gibbs, took a little swipe, kind of, sort of at him under caution. I just thought it was interesting. Ty Gibbs back in the Xfinity Series and immediately reverts to 2022 Ty Gibbs, who was a little bit of a menace when he wasn't winning races. Even when he was winning races, he was sometimes a menace. Just couldn't get along with his teammates. I don't know. Just something about Gibbs in the Xfinity Series doesn't, just he loses his head.
He's a troll, like Angel 88 says in the chat. He's a troll, but a talented troll.
A talented troll.
Yeah.
I do want to mention, though, the Junior Motorsports had pretty good speed. They have been strong lately. Obviously, Sam Mayer just got his first career win a couple of weeks ago. He got a top 5 at Michigan. Actually, Josh Berry, Brandon Jones, they all got top 5s this weekend. Even Justin Allgaier probably had one of the top 2 or 3 cars until Michigan on pit road. Was it over the wall too soon, I think, during his final pit stop? Cost him. Mm-hmm. So, but Junior Motorsports, you guys feel good about them? They seem to be improving as we get close to the playoffs. Yeah.
Well, I'll go first really quick. When he got spun on pit road, Allgaier, I'm talking about, by Ty Gibbs.
That was early race. Yeah.
I noticed, and granted, it didn't get called because of spinning on pit road, but Allgaier's crew did the same thing. They jumped over the wall too early, but because it was a spinning car, I don't think it all counted just because it was so discombobulated. But I noticed that. I'm like, oh, I'll just overlook it. And then that penalty happened. I'm like, wait a minute. That happened on the time before. So somebody at JRM's got to be looking at that, because that's something. I'm glad they're doing it now and not in October and possibly November going for a championship, because that's something that needs to be fixed now. But their speed, it's starting to look like old JRM again. Not early season JRM.
Yeah, looks like everything's back to normal, it seems like. I mean, wasn't even Brandon Jones running up there too for a little bit there? Yeah. So I'm like, where has he been all season, So
yeah, so the speed is there, just the execution. Like Josh Berry at Pocono had a chance to win that race until the very end. Sam Mayer tried a couple different times to throw away that Road America win, but pulled it out. And then this weekend, Allgaier's pit crew blew it. So at least the speed is there, which earlier this year did not always appear to be the case, at least not consistently. Not much else to talk about with Xfinity, though. It's a solid race. It was fun. I got to sit in the stands for that one. I really got to take in that turn 1, or heading into turn 1, the speed at Michigan. I got the obligatory shot right up against the catch fence as they entered turn 1, and it was a little jarring at first. I walked down the stairs when the cars were all in the backstretch, so it's just I don't really hear there's kind of humming in the background. Right as I get to the fence, I don't know if people saw me, people who were there watching me, I almost fell over a little bit. I was trying to get my phone out and I was like, whoa, okay, my gosh. It actually caught me off guard just how aggressive those cars are when they're 200 miles an hour, 6 feet, 8 feet from you. Anyway, let's move on. Actually, we're making good time tonight. I think it's time for our first super chat stager. We've got a lot to get to in the second half of the show, okay. So I'm actually glad we're making some good time here. But everyone watching, we've got roughly 700 concurrent viewers. Really appreciate everyone spending their Wednesday night with us. Let's get to some super chats. We got a couple before the show from NASCAR Sun 2414. Hey, Eric, how was Michigan? Any cool food places? Michigan was awesome until the rain, but it was actually beautiful. It was good to get out of the Texas heat for a few days. The most local place I probably ate at, though, was Culver's. And that's Wisconsin. I know that's Wisconsin, but I love Culver's. I think I ate there twice.
We got one out here too. It's awesome. I love Culver's.
Oh my gosh. And then NASCAR Sun sent another one. Hey, NWP group, could I email you a 2025 Cup Series schedule idea? Could you have fans send in their proposed Cup schedules like you did with the top 75 drivers? We do have that email open. I'm sure you can send them in. I'm not sure if we'll be able to compile them for a video or for a segment.
Yeah, maybe.
If you want to send an email, we'll check it out. And if we get some good suggestions, we might bring it up in a future episode.
Yeah, for sure.
Isaac asked, how was Detroit's pizza? Was it better than Chicago's? I did not have any Detroit-style pizza. I was surprised, somewhat alarmed by the number of Little Caesars I saw on every street corner.
Hey, me and Danny had some Detroit pizza watching what was it again? WWE. What was it called again, Danny?
SummerSlam.
Yeah, it was good. From Jets, by the way.
I have had Detroit style pizza. It is really good. I still prefer
Yeah.
Chicago. That's
Now,
just me.
Now from Little Caesars, no.
Yeah.
That's a gut bomb.
Bailey sent 5. The fact that front row let Zane Smith go is wild. Stuart Haas needs him in that 10 car. I hate to say it, but I feel Stuart Haas should force him, I think they mean Almirola, force Almirola to retire like JGR did to Kenseth. I think as long as Almirola has Smithfield, he can take as long as he
that's what I'm
wants.
saying. I'm like, hey,
Yeah,
you can force him out all you want, but hey, Smithfield might go with him.
They just lost Bush. They really want to risk another one like that.
And a sponsor too.
You can either have Smith or Smithfield, and I think Smithfield pays more of the bills.
Damn, that was smart. Damn it.
Now look at me, big brain move.
Yeah.
I'm going wild over here. Jimmy Leo sent 5. Hi, Eric. How was being at Michigan before the rain came? It was great. I have to say the fans I met in Michigan were super friendly. I think I asked someone. I think they're called Michiganders. I hope they weren't trolling me because that sounds a little silly, but I think that's what they're called. But every Michigander I met and folks from the surrounding areas were all very, very friendly. So shout out to the citizens of Michigan and the Midwest.
Say it one more time for me, please. One more time.
Man, I'm now worried that they were trolling me and that they're actually not called this. Michigander, like the Gander Outdoors RV Truck Series.
Michiganians.
Yeah,
Michiganites.
Yeah. No, they're saying it. I'm right in the chat. It is Michigander. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Now we feel bad for joking about it.
Oh, I don't feel bad.
It just sounds funny. That's all.
Yeah.
Isaac sent 2. Said, who's having a worse 2023, Gregson or Motorsport Games? Man, that's.
Oh, that's a hey. You know what? That's a tough. one,
Hey, you know what?
Hey.
Gregson got out there at least.
Yeah, at least he did something this year.
Yeah, true that.
We can at least remember this year for Gregson. Maybe not for great things, but we can remember it. Motorsport Games, what 36 mil in the hole?
Yeah. Oh yeah, they canceled that call today.
At least Gregson gave us some cool Wendy's cars this year.
There you go.
Here's kind of a nice feel-good super chat again from NASCAR Sun. Said, hey guys, I saved the best for last. Today I'm celebrating 16 years seizure-free from epilepsy.
That is
awesome.
Nice.
Congrats.
That's awesome. Great
Love to hear
job.
that.
Great news.
Great job.
Antar Das sent 5. Said, David Land's Brickyard video describes everything that I want in NASCAR. Alternative tires, no stages, single file restarts with the Indy 500 style qualifying.
Ooh.
I gotta check this video out because it does sound like
You'll love it. I'm telling you, you'll love it, man.
I mentioned Gavin said Brad Keselowski is the owner of the year. Is that time, Jarrett?
Yeah, it's been 3 for a bit.
Okay, I'll do just a few more since we were ahead of schedule. I just want to get through at least half of these. Rowdy8 Diecast said, I thought Monday Martin would win, but then he remembered that he only wins boring races. I see. So that's what happened there. He didn't get loose. He just realized, shoot, this is too exciting. I can't win. Back down. Ryan Tuberosa sent 5 and said, Tyler Reddick's pit crew is worse than my hairline. In parentheses, I'm bald at 22.
Oh, damn. He was roasting. Damn. That was like, hey, sometimes you gotta, I don't know, sometimes you gotta laugh at yourself, I guess, sometimes. That was a good one. That was a good one.
I can respect that. Mr. Sam is having a meltdown, said, damn it. Was that a Biffle? Who was that a reference to? I think that was a reference earlier when we were talking about Biffle or somebody, maybe Kurt Busch. Honestly, I don't remember now.
No, his would be expletive.
Yeah. I'm going to do just 3. I'll do 3 more real quick here. Marky Mark sent 5. Howdy, gents. Isn't SVG and his rival Kostecki racing at Indy? Also, if it rains, we've got rain tires. I'm not missing this race. Correct on all accounts, Marky Mark. Yes, they are both racing. We'll cover that at the end of this episode. Mom 9098 says, thanks to NWP talking about SRX. We're going to the final race on August 17th at Lucas Oil Speedway.
Nice.
I won't be there, but I'll be watching on TV for sure.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to be at that one, unfortunately. I was at Berlin. It was really cool, so I think you're going to have a good time. And lastly, I thought this was nice from Barbara Smith. Said, I so appreciate all of your coverage. And she sent that to all of us. So
thank you.
Really appreciate your support, Barbara.
Yeah.
We've got a bunch more super chats. We will get to those at the end of the show tonight. We really and truly appreciate your support. What is next? Is I know, Jerry, you're worried about some weather hitting later tonight. Has it blown in a little earlier than anticipated?
We gotta watch right now. It might be coming in though.
And it's the lightning round on the NASCAR Weekly Podcast. Jarrett, what do we have on tap for tonight?
A couple things here. Starting out with Trackhouse has announced that Jockey will remain with the team through 2025 and be the primary for both teams in select races, according to Bob Pockrass. Good news.
Okay.
Cool.
Chase Purdy will return to KBM in 2024. This I saw was reported by Chris Knight, and I think other people got there too. So,
Pretty good deal.
Bit of penalty box or something. Chase Briscoe, Alex Bowman, and Ty Gibbs will test the Indy Oval next Monday and Tuesday, according to Bob Pockrass. But of course, they'll probably say Indian people will probably say, "Well, it's just a preliminary test. We're not going there." For the third time we've had a test there now with this car.
Yeah.
Cole Custer and the 00 team will be docked 20 driver owner points and 5 playoff points, according to Bob Pockrass. I believe they failed inspection before qualifying.
They had a part confiscated. Was it the splitter? What was it that got
I
confiscated?
think it would have been the splitter.
Oh, wait, hold on. So since the part got confiscated, that means it's going to be on full display this week.
Is that just
I
across
thought
all series or the Cup?
Oh, is it? Is it just Cup?
I don't know.
thought it was all everywhere.
No, that's
but,
what I'm asking.
That's what we're going to find out, I guess.
I don't actually know. Yeah, they're saying it was an illegal splitter in the chat. Yeah, that's what I thought.
Oh.
So we might. It's a big piece.
Yeah, we might.
And then the NWP 400, our yearly iRacing event, will be on IDK Players channel August 22nd, Tuesday, August 22nd. It's 13 days away. And the duels for qualifying in, which Darian will be a part of, will be Friday the 18th. It's going to be tons of fun, and I can't wait to see you all there. It's usually the big summer blockbuster of iRacing on YouTube to end the year. So Gen 6 Super Speedway package, can't lose.
And I've seen a lot of the paint schemes have been slowly being rolled out by a lot of the drivers, and they look clean. It's going to be a very pretty pack of race cars in a couple of weeks.
Yes, sir. Yes, indeed.
And that's it.
And that'll do it for this edition of the famous lightning round on the NASCAR Weekly Podcast. And now, back to the show.
So like I said, we have a very busy and packed second half of the show. We will break down the next 5 drivers on our and your chat, your top 75 NASCAR all-time drivers list. We'll get to that in a moment. We'll also talk about some silly season news that broke today. We've already talked about it a little bit, but we'll get into it in more detail. But first, we got to cover the big news that broke this weekend surrounding Noah Gragson. And this saga is, I guess, ongoing. If you've been living under a rock, in case you've been living under a rock, Gragson was suspended first by the team, Legacy Motor Club, and then later was suspended indefinitely by NASCAR for allegedly liking an offensive meme on Instagram, I believe. Now, he missed this weekend's race at Michigan. And then yesterday, The Athletic reported that Legacy Motor Club had split from Gragson. They'd severed ties. Jim Utter came in and tweeted that the exact opposite, that no, that has not happened. So some conflicting reports there. But this all comes a week or so after The Athletic reported John Hunter Nemechek was seriously being considered by the team to replace Gragson next year. Gentlemen, first off, the indefinite suspension, like Gragson was foolish, was very dumb, a person in his position to make this kind of mistake. But the indefinite suspension, like, I'm not sure that's the most justified form of penalty in this case. But I'll start with you, Darian. What do you make of the penalty first for Gragson?
Well, I was shocked at first. I mean, because I started seeing that circulate on Friday. I believe Friday morning specifically, and then you started to see it gain some traction, and then a couple of notable reporters started seeing it. So then they reached out to the Chevy and Legacy Motor Club reps, and as soon as that happened, I was like, yeah, that's it. That's a wrap. Like, that something's gonna happen. But I didn't think it would be a freaking suspension, though. And I mean, like, I have a feeling, I have a theory behind all of this. So I think what happened was, and this is just speculating, you just said the rumor is, John Hunter Nemechek to the 42, right? So I feel like in a way they were kind of looking for a reason to move on anyways, even though it was a lame duck year. But now they're having this alliance coming up with manufacturer Toyota, and John Hunter Nemechek's killing it for them right now. So they see this pop up, they're hearing this, and they obviously don't like it anyway. So they were just like, well, we're going to just suspend him. And then NASCAR followed suit and then was like, well, if the team's going to suspend him, then we have to sort of, kind of fall in line here too. So they just suspended him indefinitely. And I don't know. I think, like Noah Gragson gave him a reason, unfortunately. They were already looking for a reason to move on and he just gave it to them. So, I mean, like, I personally think his days in the 42 are done just off of this, but I do think he does deserve a second chance, though. So whether that comes in the Cup Series or Xfinity, I don't know. But because of all the John Hunter Nemechek rumors, and them maybe looking for a reason to move on from him, that's why I think his days in that ride are numbered. I could be wrong though, because we are getting conflicting reports. So we'll see what happens.
Well, I think him going back to that car at this point, I think it would just make the environment over there even worse than it probably already is right now. Just because, whether justified or not to back their driver, I think he knows push come to shove, Toyota and Legacy don't want him there, and they're not going to have his back in anything. So I think that would just bring more tension. I was very in the middle. I didn't really want to say too much on Saturday when I was on stream, just because it was still new and so much stuff came out. What I think, for one, I think it should have been handled more internally, if I got to say. If they want to hold him out of race, that's the team's decision, whether you agree or not with it. I think NASCAR should have stayed out of it. If the team was dealing with it, that's their thing to deal with. We've seen team suspensions before when NASCAR doesn't get involved. It used to be much more common. I think that's the direction NASCAR should have gone in, because now NASCAR, whatever they do, they're not going to win, because people will think they're not going hard enough or whatever. An indefinite suspension, I think, taking some time to think more about it, I think is too far. I think what he did was completely idiotic. And don't get me wrong, like, I wouldn't have liked a meme like that or anything. But bro, just get a burner. Like, if you're really like that, I'm sorry if I'm giving my advice here. If you're gonna like things that are edgy or go over the line at different points, just get a burner. It's stupid because people are gonna look for that stuff. You have professional victims on social media that will look for a reason to go after people. You have people who will go after you, and Noah has made a bunch of dumb decisions before too. So let's not act like people aren't just gonna, people were not gonna let Noah slide with anything. But I think doing it for a like, he didn't post it, didn't retweet it. He liked it, and for all we know, could have liked it months ago. I think that's a little too far, because I think what it does is it opens up a door that I guarantee a lot of these people who especially went after Noah, and I'm not saying that they were wrong for saying what he did was wrong, but I guarantee there's a lot of people who in the past have done stupid or like stupid things too. And if we're just going to start playing a war of digging through who likes who or who follows who or whatever, I think it's just going to get worse. So I think he deserves a second chance. I think this should have been addressed. I do. But indefinite suspension and something that possibly could damage his career for the long term, I think that is a step too far.
I mean, yeah, I'm kind of Jared on this one. When it first come out, I think I was leaning towards, well, he didn't say it, he didn't post it, and I thought maybe a one race suspension at least, but it kind of shocked me, to realize, okay, this is longer than that. But it's like, well, I guess the team really seemed like they want to move on anyway. So at this point, I'm not surprised that they're just taking this chance to cut ties and move on at this point. I mean, he was doing just as well as Ty Dillon, their driver they had last year, and that's Ty Dillon in a comparatively worse car, honestly. And it's been rough for them all as a whole, and I think this was, it gave them an out, but at the same time, they do have to do what's right. This is bad PR, bad all around. Got to take care of it. Got to gotta get rid of Noah in this case. Now, what Noah does with this after this, I'm honestly not sure. I don't see him being like a Kyle Larson and going out and dominating late model races outside. I don't know what chances he's going to get to go do other racing right now. And so at this point, Noah's got to, really think hard about what the next move is here, get with his, his legal counsel, everybody involved, because I don't honestly have an answer as to what he can do to bounce back from this. Kyle Larson, when this happened, he had the benefit of, I'm still Kyle Larson. I'm still one of the best young race car drivers in the world right now. Noah Gragson, talented driver. I mean, I would say he was slightly above average for the Xfinity Series in JRM equipment. Now you put him out there and, just think of a worse ride he might get at this point. JD Motorsports, he's probably not going to do much in that car. But I don't know what his next move is here. The only thing that came to my mind close to his situation was, and you guys remember this, we were at Indy and everyone started bringing up Larry McReynolds liking pornographic material on Twitter and that going out there.
That's right.
But this doesn't compare. It's one thing to expose. It's one thing to make people see Larry McReynolds liked and that versus this being completely offensive.
He brought it up in front of 700 people, bro. He brought it up again.
About that.
Yeah.
Put Larry Mack under the bus. Did he put out an apology or like a statement?
I don't think he ever said anything.
I don't
honestly.
think he said anything.
I thought he tweeted something like a few hours or days later.
I think he said he was like hacked or something. I think some BS excuse or what. I'm like, yeah, okay.
No, that was Ted Cruz. I thought that put that. I think because they had a similar situation.
I don't remember what come out of that situation, but that was the only thing that came to my mind being slightly similar.
I'm sorry, I gotta say it because I saw something somewhere in the chat. I'm just imagining a TikTok or YouTube short. What if I told you Larry McReynolds had that dog in him?
But also, too, I also think that, I think him being basically a polarizing personality had something to do with the suspension as well. Like, I feel like, you guys know this at this point, there are going to be certain people in the industry who, like you and don't like you. And I feel like in his case, maybe there were some higher ups that, that had felt the same way. They had seen that and they're like, yeah, well, he's causing us problems and stuff. Look at this now. And maybe there's a few, like, hey, see, I told you so, as far as the higher ups go, like, hey, I told you he would be a headache and, just decided to suspend him, I guess.
I mean, that could be true. I don't like to read too much into it. I think you guys have kind of covered just about every angle of this. Like Danny said, I don't know where Gregson goes from here. I don't see an obvious cup ride for him. I don't really see an obvious Xfinity or truck ride either. But he's good enough. Someone will give him a chance somewhere, just more than likely.
And he's got money. He's got money, so he'll be. He's good
money.
Enough.
I think he's got some. I don't know if he has a ton.
I mean, I'm not gonna say he's got much money because most of the sponsors I think he brought in to Legacy was Wendy's for a couple of races.
Black Rifle.
Yeah, well, they were kind of there already.
Okay, let me rephrase it.
They were with him too, though.
Yeah, let me rephrase it then. Enough money for an Xfinity ride. How about that? Is that fair?
He might. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what he has. But he's good enough and has a little bit of money. I think someone will give him a chance. It just may not be in the Cup Series spotlight.
Black Rifle, their name in and of itself, they're controversial enough. I don't know if they want to go down that route with Noah further on.
Yeah, we'll see. But yeah, in conclusion, basically obviously what Larson did was way worse, but he's a freaking generational talent. He was going to come back, one way or the other. As for Noah Gragson, I'm not sure,
And in that case, also considering where the world was in 2020, like you at least understood NASCAR and Chevy and everyone's reasoning, all the sponsors leaving him, all that. Like you don't have to agree with it, but you can at least understand, where that came from. In the case of Gragson, it is certainly different, and at the same time, he doesn't really have, like we're just talking about, that many sponsors to begin with. So I don't know. I also kind of agree with the theory that Legacy was looking for a way out, and this was an easy one for him.
people are saying Bass Pro maybe come back, but that's the thing. Bass Pro has proved time and time again they're not really driver loyal, they're not really team loyal, they're not really manufacturer loyal. If they like you, they like you. In this case, they just wanted to be with Junior Motorsports. Noah happened to be their driver for a few years. I don't think it's anything like come on, Noah, come back. Johnny Morris wants you.
Yeah, definitely not. But hey, I'm not really sure. Just like you, Danny, I don't know. I don't know where he goes from here, but we'll see. Maybe something will come up.
I will say, kind of getting to the silly season side of things, which I think we're going to next. I would be very interested if different lower level cup teams or Xfinity teams, if reports about them change, because maybe it would have hinted where Noah could have gone or where he might go or something like that. I mean, I know there were reports of JRM possibly having 2 rides open up and stuff, and it'd be really interesting if they're like, well, suddenly this stuff's sort of shutting down. It's like, okay, then we kind of get why. That'd be really interesting to look at in the hypothetical, but the real is probably more.
I got a feeling no matter the results, JRM's starting to really think about that Menards money sticking around.
Yeah, gotta have the Menards money, no matter what team you're on. Gotta have it.
Save big money. That was funny. We don't have Menards where I come from, but I saw some in Michigan this past weekend, so that was kind of cool.
Same. In Vegas, we didn't have none either.
I need to go to a Menards sometime.
Yeah. Yeah, Jarrett, you kind of segued us there into some other silly season news. Martin Truex Jr. confirmed this weekend that he will be back next year. I want to ask you guys, I also want to ask the chat. He's sort of taking these things 1 year at a time. You know, he likes having that flexibility at this stage in his career. He's not looking for a long-term commitment. He'll see where he's at in 8 or 9 months. But, you know, he was close to retiring at the end of last year. He was close to retiring this year. Danny, does Martin Truex Jr. retire after 2024? Let's start asking the question already. Will 2024 be Truex's final season?
Heck if I know. Ask me next year at this point, Eric. I really can't tell because I thought for sure this year would be his last one. And at the same time, though, when he wants it to be his last year, like I hope he makes it very clear early on because he is a driver who I think at this point deserves a Kevin Harvick-esque send-off. It doesn't need to be like, you know, Carl Edwards and suddenly say, hey, just so you guys know, I'm not coming back next year.
Just out of nowhere.
The chat we have 100 votes and the chat is exactly 50-50 yes or no on will 2024 be Truex's last year.
Let's see if I can sway them to no, because I don't think so. You know, we've seen this song and dance before. I feel like now he is completely rejuvenated. He's had a lot of changes, not only in his personal life, but his professional life as well. You know, he's starting to win a ton of races again, competing for a championship. I don't know. Like, I feel like there was a point where he was considering it, but then once he started running a whole lot better, he was like, oh man, we might have to, put this, retirement plan on the back burner for a little bit here. So I'm going to say no, but I don't see him racing 5 years from now. I'll just put it that way.
Well, you've unsuccessfully swayed the chat. They're now 53% yes, he will retire after next year.
I jinxed it.
Jared, what do you think? Because I for one am very excited that Truex is back for another year because he's still at the top of his game. You know, if he had regressed kind of for the second year in a row, I'd be more at peace with the idea of him retiring. You know, Jimmy Johnson, maybe the greatest ever. I don't love that he went winless his final 3 years, missing the playoffs. Like, I hate to see legends struggle like that. So if Truex had regressed, I'd be okay with him retiring. But, selfishly as a fan, if he's still great, I want to see him out there. And he is obviously still great, right?
Yeah, I'd say so. And for me, I hate usually doing the whole football to NASCAR thing, but I'd say as a Vikings fan, firsthand seeing some greats who just stay too long, it's sad. I'm not saying that Truex is going to have an immense fall off, but the last thing I want to do is Truex is having a rebound year compared to the last couple of years. Just statistically, he is on track to have probably the best year he's had since, God, maybe pre-pandemic. So I'm going to say at the moment, I do think yes. But I don't want him to have this great year. And I'm thinking of like two people here as a Vikings fan, Brett Favre and Adrian Peterson, where that 2009 season, 2015, where Favre and Adrian Peterson, those two separate years were so fun to watch. They were some of the best at their position. And the next year they were atrocious. They were toast. Truex is having one of those like really great years that you see athletes have at the end of their career. I don't want him to I don't want to see the next year be really bad, or possibly these 2 years be good, kind of like a Tom Brady situation, and then go off the cliff a little more. So I'm going to say yes at the moment just because he hemmed and hawed so much. But I will say he has become more decisive. He did buy a boat a couple weeks ago, finally.
I like your commentary. You said he's fishing for championships now.
I said earlier, when Truex retires, get ready to start catching lobsters, buddy.
Yeah. Hey, look, Truex, he's a championship contender again, man. Like, I don't know, like when I say 5 years from now, I don't think he'll race. I'll say if I were to pick 1 year, a year that I think he'll eventually retire, I'll go with 2025. How about that? I'll go with 2025 because it's like you said, Jared, you know, he won't. Yeah. Because it's like what Jared just described. You know, it's like he won't, you know, be too out of his prime and stuff, you know, and, you know, only be a couple more years. So I think I could totally see him being a championship contender in those 2 seasons. Definitely.
And then he'll go to the SRX and win there.
Yeah. Win another title there.
I want to move on to some other silly season news that actually broke today. And I talked about this at the very beginning of the show, but Front Row Motorsports will keep Todd Gilliland and Michael McDowell next year. They usually wait till the off season to make their announcements. They're making this announcement over the summer because they were in an interesting spot. They had 3 drivers, all Cup ready, in my opinion, vying for 2 chartered seats. Now, according to reports, they were looking into making a 3rd Cup team for Zane Smith, but couldn't get a deal done. So now Zane Smith is free to negotiate with other teams outside of Front Row. You all heard my take at the beginning. I like Todd Gilliland a lot. He deserves a ton of credit for actually taking a step forward this year when every other sophomore has taken a step back. But I still think Zane Smith is the better prospect. Jarrett, do you think they're making the right call with McDowell supremacy and Todd Gilliland for another season?
No, I don't. I think that this was, as much as I like McDowell, and I know McDowell is going to be 39 going into next year, so he's not over the age cliff as a driver by any means. But I think this was their defining moment to go one of 2 paths. Either go the safe route that seems nice, and you know what? They might keep that up. They might be a fringe playoff team. Or take that chance on that younger guy, on that young prospect, and possibly become not just a playoff guy, but a playoff team that goes a round or 2 in down the road. And again, I swear, I like McDowell a lot, but I think the right move was to go younger here. I think the right move was to get Zane Smith and Todd Gilliland. Gilliland has shown a lot. I think this year, with where he was pushed to be as a driver, has unlocked a lot in him. I think McDowell would have landed on his feet somewhere, whether it was Stewart Haas or any other team. But McDowell's not getting any younger. You have 2 young drivers, one who's finally starting to realize his potential, another who I think is a driver who can take you to the next level. And unless he signed somewhere else beforehand, in that case, it's out of their hands. But from what it sounds like, he didn't. I think this is the wrong move. I think that Zane Smith was the future of this team, and they're letting possibly their franchise driver go away.
So I agree with you, but I am shocked that you would have replaced McDowell. Isn't McDowell only like 39? He's still got a few more years. He's vying for a playoff spot. I think he's good for a few more years.
I think you go the Joe Gibbs route. You go ruthless. Doesn't matter like if they're aging out, and he'll have a few more good years, yes, but is he going to have enough good years where he can elevate his equipment? Because I think that's what they're doing. These 2 drivers are elevating their equipment. Is McDowell? Can you tell me that in 2 years McDowell will be a better driver and be able to elevate his equipment more than Zane Smith would? I would. There you go. That's what you're dealing with.
Argument is I think McDowell will be better than Todd Gilliland for at least the next 5 years. That's why I had Gilliland out. McDowell stays in the 34. Yeah, so I agree with you that Zane, I think, was their future, and I'm surprised they're not making room for it. And it felt like they were sort of grooming Zane for the Cup Series. He's been in their truck organization, and this year they bumped Todd Gilliland out of his car for a few races to give Zane seat time. I know sponsorship was tied to it, but still, like, all signs seem to point towards Zane getting the 38 over Todd. But Maybe it's the David Gillen connection. I don't know. They seem to really love Todd. They couldn't bring themselves to part ways. So I don't. Danny, what do you think would have been the right decision?
So I think the right decision was made. And here's why. I think, for one, Todd Gillen didn't take this as a demotion. He took it as an opportunity to do better in all the runs he was given this year. And for Zane Smith, I think personally, this is the right thing for him. Because I think if we keep Zane Smith tied down to Front Row Motorsports, no offense to Front Row, they're definitely on the up and up. But I think we could have been looking at a Kyle Larson at Chip Ganassi situation where the driver was really good, but being held back by the equipment he could be in. I think this could be an opportunity for him to increase his ceiling, because I think Zane Smith is a very talented race car driver. I think Zane Smith deserves a better ride than Front Row Motorsports. And I think he will get a better ride than Front Row Motorsports. And as much as we like to dog SHR, for how they've been regressing, I just don't know if they have the right driver with them yet. And this could be an opportunity to get him over into SHR equipment, or to go check out the 21 car that has a connection to Penske. I think there's a better ride for Zane.
I'm with you there. Yeah.
21 I could get, maybe, but not SHR at this point. I disagree on that. I think the 34 and 38 are still better than.
And I'm not saying that's the long haul. Honestly, RFK is looking better. They've talked about wanting to do a third car. I think whatever it takes, Ford needs to keep Zane Smith in what could be seen as a better opportunity. And it could just be Zane's going to go somewhere. I don't know if he needs to be at Front Row for the long run.
I think that's very fair from Zane Smith's perspective. I would argue Stuart Haas is better and a better what am I trying to say? A better situation than Front Row because they still have more resources. It's still, I think the people there, I'm convinced their ceiling is still higher than Front Row's. I'm worried we're seeing the best Front Row could be right now. We know Stuart Haas can be better than they are. So if Zane ends up in the 10, good for him. If he ends up in the 21, good for him. But I'm looking at this from Front Row's perspective. You have this guy locked up for, I think, like 4 or 5 years, and you're kind of just throwing in the towel. And I just, like Jared said, I think he was a big part of their future, and they're letting him walk.
I see SHR right now the way I saw Roush in 2016-17. And I see Front Row in the very early stages of a team ascending to that next level in the Ford ladder. I still think the long-term play would be better. And maybe I'll be proven wrong, but it's been shown the only way to elevate SHR equipment is if you are one of the 10 to 15 greatest drivers ever at this point in Kevin Harvick.
Yeah,
Zane Smith,
true.
no offense, Zane, I don't think you're better than Kevin Harvick. Yep.
No, he's not.
Prove me wrong in the next 20 years, but I don't think Zane Smith elevates that team past 20th.
I just think with him, we would be looking at not on the same level, because I think Kyle Larson's a way different driver than Zane Smith, but we'd be looking at a similar situation to, hey, there's a driver who is way better than his equipment.
But where on the Ford ladder does he go? Because there's nowhere really going to open up with Penske unless they give up Logano or Blaney. I don't think with the connection, Cindric's going anywhere. And maybe if RFK expands, you can get a ride there, but then you also got to look at sponsorship. He's basically just got Front Row sponsorship and a truck ride. I don't know where he goes. Like that would be better at this point. That has sponsorship lined up. The RFK thing isn't going to happen until at least 25, maybe 26.
I think SHR is the landing spot for now, but I would have my eyes set on RFK.
So I can understand, like, I don't know. I was all for, like, McDowell being bumped for Zane and stuff. I even debated about that on the show, I think, a few weeks back. But I don't know, like, now that it's official and stuff, and now that everything's been announced, like, now I can see why they did it, because I don't know, I guess looking back now, they were never going to let go of McDowell. You feel like he's been the heart and soul of that team, and, he's having his best season ever. So they're like, hey, you know what? Let's reward him. Basically they want to stay loyal. And I think that it's a similar story for Todd Gillen, because, the only reason he lost some of those rides was due to funding. And he's also another guy who does have some history within the team. His dad was there during the old days and stuff, and he gets an extension, and he happens to be running extremely well too. So I think in this situation, the owner basically solved the situation and was like, look, they're already running pretty well. They have history here. They've been loyal. It's time for me to repay them. So I think that's what that is. And, it was even reported they tried to look for a third option and stuff, but if it wasn't going to be competitive, then there was no point. So they were just like, hey, look, we already got our guys, sorry, Zane, it's time to walk. And their reasoning behind it was, well, they didn't want to deal with like another rookie, in the cup, transition type deal, I guess.
I get that.
So
I think that's a fair justification.
I can understand that, but only time will tell if they made the right decision. Let's say Zane Smith does somehow end up with either the Wood brothers or Stewart-Haas Racing next year, and if he happens to be performing better than those two, then we can say, So we'll see who has the last lap in the end, but. Right now, just for stability reasons, I'd say, what, keep the lineup intact, see if it improves. Maybe Todd Gillen will be their guy. Maybe they're expecting Todd Gillen to be what Zane Smith is, so we'll see.
Yeah. And right now the chat agrees with you, Darian, and they also agree with Front Row's ultimate decision. Although I guess not technically majority. Right now, 42% of our viewers said that, yes, Front Row is correct to put McDowell and Gilliland in their two cars next year. 34% agree with me, said it should have been McDowell and Zane. 22% are on your side, Jarrett, although I think that number maybe is a little lower than actual. A few people I saw in the chat were saying they wanted to change their vote because of your argument. So good job there. But 22% said Zane and Gilliland, they should have gone young. But that means, that technically means 56% of our viewers think that Front Row got this wrong. That's one way to look at it, but it's certainly split. It's split, fairly, I don't want to say evenly, but it is definitely a split decision. I hope Front Row does well next year. They've, between winning the Daytona 500 3 years ago, McDowell having a career year last year, and now potentially one-upping that by sneaking into the playoffs, they are on the rise, and that's very exciting to see. One final thing I want to talk briefly about regarding silly season, Shane Van Gisbergen. I think some of this broke while I was driving across the Gulf of Mexico today. But I think Justin Marks was on SiriusXM NASCAR radio, once again talking about Shane Van Gisbergen and how they're going to meet this week while SVG's in the States racing in Indianapolis. And they're going to talk about next year and possibly a third Trackhouse team. We could see SVG full-time in Cup driving the 91 or the 97, something like that. I guess, Danny, do you think SVG will race Cup full-time next year? And if so, do you think Trackhouse will be the team?
I don't know if he will race fully in Cup, but I think Trackhouse is the team either way. I don't know if Trackhouse would want to do it for long. They could even look into an Xfinity opportunity to go in something like that, or partner up with a truck team of some kind or something like that. But I think either way, he will want to stay in the Trackhouse organization. What that looks like, I'm not really sure. That I guess depends on how much funding that they have towards the team and the entire program to whether or not they can make that jump on another charter. When they got their second charter, that was more like just a bulk package deal buying Chip Ganassi. Now it's like, okay, now I gotta finagle one of these charters away from Rick Ware now.
Although,
well,
sorry, go ahead. Sorry,
I don't mean to cut you off. I just remember, didn't Trackhouse lease that charter year one for Suarez? Because I think they had to give that charter back to whoever it was, and then they bought the two from Ganassi.
I think it was there was two. Petty had two. And that's how they got that one. So go ahead, Darren. I was just thinking about the possibility of them leasing a third charter for a year again.
No, you're good. But then the other possibility I see in the itinerary is part-time in multiple series. And now I see that, I'm like, well, that could also be appealing too, because you're not going to have as much on your plate during the season. You'd have a Cup race here, Xfinity race there and stuff, truck race here or whatever. And if you want to run and if he wants to run some ovals, and all indications pointing out that he does, so you could pick a couple ovals every now and then and stuff. You won't have as much on your plate anymore. But if he wants to run full time in the Cup Series, the only two options I could see are Colleague being the main one right now, because now that seat is open, one of their seats is open, or Trackhouse, but a lot would have to happen with that. I mean, Justin Marks, I mean, he put together that whole Project 91 thing. Does he want to scrap all that? Would you be able to get a charter, or at the very least, lease one? So a lot of factors would have to happen. But ultimately, if he were to go full time, I think the easiest option would be the Colleague 31.
Jared, sorry, Hunter Nixon Fishing in the chat said SVG is being way overhyped. Do you agree with that, Jared? And then, yeah.
At this point, yeah.
We don't know what he could do other than win.
He's not the second coming of Jesus, but
what he did was amazing.
Down under Jesus.
Crikey. What he did was amazing, but let's not pretend that this dude has completely proven that he's going to be able to drive well at intermediates and super speedways and short tracks. You do have to be a very versatile driver to be a good driver in NASCAR. And you know what? He might prove to be that. But you know who else was hyped up after running well at road courses? Not going to win, but Marcus Ambrose. And Ambrose is a good driver. Was never much, maybe the equipment didn't match up with a Trackhouse thing. But still, I want to wait a little bit to see, what he can do. But
it's strangely good at Bristol.
We'll go into the question, though, at hand. I still think the smart option is to go part-time in different series. Maybe 12 races, 12 race weekends in the 91. It sounds like they really want to keep him at Chevy. There is an option that's out there. Funding would have to be put together to it, but I believe the hype at least could get some funding alone for it. They run 2 races a year or 5 races a year with a 5th car for JRM in the 88. Why not put him in a couple of those to learn different ovals in Xfinity? Why not just patchwork some of it together? I think he'll probably want to do a full-time or mostly full-time in one of the series. I would assume probably Cup. But I think a better option would be to go part-time in Xfinity, if not full-time, but get Xfinity experience before jumping headfirst into the rest of the driver's domain for 30 weekends a year, compared to 1 weekend a year where they're jumping into yours. Again, I hope he proves me wrong, because I think it'd be great for NASCAR, and he seems like a great personality. But for now, I'd say go to the Xfinity or part-time everywhere.
He could possibly. I talk about Trackhouse doing a Xfinity team. Well, why not Colleague? They actually have a pretty good relationship. Trackhouse is actually who Colleague gets their pit crews from. So, I maybe try him a year into 10, because right now that's just on a part-time driver basis, anyways.
Yeah.
Reading the chat, Eric Court says, watch his truck start at IRP. Then we can truly start.
I was just about to say that. It's this weekend. So
we'll get the picks later. I had thought, do I pick him? But nah, I don't want to do that.
If he's trash in a truck series race, and I'm not talking like he gets taken out by somebody. I'm talking like he runs 3 laps down off of pace in the truck series, then we need to start having some questions, because right now we've just in Chicago just had fans hyping him up and in my opinion overhyping him. I don't want to drink the Kool-Aid just yet.
I think he finishes 14th this weekend.
The top 15 I think would be a good goal. I think a lead lap finish, to me, would be pretty impressive, especially at a short track.
Yeah, I think the truck series, there's enough spins, enough short stages. I don't think he'll fall. I think he'll manage to finish on the lead lap. My prediction is 14th, but we'll get to that at the end. Let's see, it's 8:30 Central Time here. I think it's about time, folks, that we break down the next 5 drivers on our top 75 greatest NASCAR drivers of all time list. Again, this was voted on not only by the 4 of us, but we took, how many answers did we get, Jared? We got dozens of lists from fans.
Oh, God, it was like 3 or 4 dozen.
Yeah, we got like close to 50 submissions. We averaged those all out. So the chat, you all also played a role in these rankings. Let's start. We're down to the top 15. We're going to break down number 15 through 11 tonight. We're almost to that top 10. 15th place, as voted on by all of us, Junior Johnson. Yes, that's right. Of Junior Johnson and Associates. 50-time NASCAR Cup Series winner. He won the Daytona 500 100. He's credited as being the man who kind of discovered drafting at Daytona, realized that you could make up speed that way. But I don't have I can't see where everybody ranked him right now. I'm limited on my screen. So Jarrett, let me know if anyone jumped out at you as far as their rankings are concerned.
We were all very consistent. Darian had him 16th. Me and Danny had him 15th. You had him 17th. Chet had him 19th.
Oh, the
Okay,
Chet
so
had
we
him
were
the
pretty
lowest.
even.
But
I think
hey,
he never won a cup championship, but he also never
Mhm.
ran a full season, I believe, right, Darian?
Jared, is that true, Jared? Okay,
Nope.
yeah, Jared would know more about that than me. But yeah, no, I
Okay.
mean, he's one of the greatest drivers, if not the greatest driver to never win a championship.
And
Yeah.
I know we're talking about strictly driver stats here, but it can't be overlooked how good of an owner he was at one point too.
Oh yeah, yeah. In his later years, oh yeah, absolutely. But yeah, no,
In
in the
many
Cup
ways-
Series. Oh, go ahead, sorry.
I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm sorry about that, Darian. I feel like I've done that like 3 times.
No. It's all
I'm
good.
gonna blame lag. It's net code. That's
Yeah,
fine.
it's all good, bro. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say he was also the kind of the quintessential NASCAR driver. You know, the Johnson family, the moonshine background in business. Junior Johnson grew up in Wilkes County, right? Isn't that where he
Mhm.
lived? Right there by North Wilkesboro Speedway in the vicinity. So, you know, one of NASCAR's true early heroes, which is why they named that movie about him called The Last American Hero, which is a great movie, by the way. Holds up despite being like 50 years old.
And the crazy thing too, like, and this showed how well he would be as an owner, and as, you know, just working on a team. He was the one in NASCAR who discovered the draft. Like, drafting would have been discovered eventually, but drafting as we know it and to where it got at this point today would not have been possible without Junior Johnson. And if you're asking me, you know, Eric, I think you've said it too. Daytona Talladega, that is distinctly the most NASCAR type of racing. That only NASCAR has this type of racing. And that was birthed and directly influenced by Junior Johnson. Without Junior Johnson, NASCAR does not look like how it does today, both driving or owner-wise. But especially, you know, driving-wise, I mean, I believe he has the most wins of anyone without a championship. And yes, he did not run a full season ever at that.
No, just ran when he wanted. And also, too, I mean, don't forget the tricked out cars he had back in the day, too. I mean, he was also, you know, very talented, but there is you know, the World 600 in 1963, he won by 2 laps. So that says it all.
No. He would have won by 2 laps.
Oh, he had a 2-lap. Oh, he had a 2-lap lead. Oh, man.
So in
crazy.
a 1963 World 600, he had a 2-lap lead, but it was derailed when a fan threw a bottle on the track, causing a crash that involved him.
Wow, well, that was crazy. I never heard of that one. But yeah, no,
So
he still had some tricked out cars when he wasn't being interfered by fans.
So Danica interfered by a shoe. Junior Johnson interfered by a bottle. And also, he was part of the very first inaugural NASCAR Hall of Fame class as well.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Junior Johnson at 15. Moving on to number 14, Rusty Wallace, the 1989 Cup Series champion, 55 career NASCAR Cup Series wins. This stat kind of jumped out at me. He finished top 10 in points in all but one season from 1986 to 2002, back when it was the full season consistent points format. That is consistency at its finest. As a Matt Kenseth fan, I respect some good consistency. Jared, again, you have the rankings in front of me. Does anybody jump out to you?
A little bit. Me, Darian, and the chat had him 14th. You had him 12th. Danny had him in the top 10 all time.
Oh, Danny,
Yes,
big Rusty fan.
I've got a soft spot for Rusty Wallace. Like I consider him one of the most underrated legends of the entire sport. I think he could have won a couple more championships if it wasn't for the fact that his time was sandwiched right in there with Jeff Gordon and Dale Earnhardt. He had to deal with both of them, had rivalries with both of them, but still, Rusty Wallace had a great career in NASCAR.
And to back you up on that, he led the Cup Series in wins in 88, 89, 93, 94, won 10 of 30 races in 1990.
Wow. When he was on it, he was on it. 9 Bristol wins as well. So he was a short track specialist, I guess you could say.
Yeah, he would have had way more championships for sure. But yeah, no, and also too, I think he would be way higher on this list if he didn't retire in 2005, because he talks about it today. He's like, yeah, I wish I didn't retire in 05. If he might have stuck around for I don't know, maybe a few more years, maybe might have added a couple wins, maybe.
I think Roger Penske wishes he would have stuck around, seeing how Kurt's time ended.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't it Rusty who got the unrestricted car at Talladega into like the 240s, 250s?
Yes, in 2004.
Yeah, so like, and then looking past 2004 to 2005, in his last year, which we know retirement seasons are hard to succeed in, he made the chase, and before that, the chase had started, he was top 5 in points in his last season.
Wow. He was extremely consistent, like as far as like some crown jewel wins are concerned, I'm only seeing he only won the Coca-Cola 600 once, and that's it as far as crown jewel races.
I don't think he ever won Daytona. Did he ever win Daytona?
Yeah, he never won the 500. Yeah,
no, he never won that. But to give Rusty some more credit to his career, he was involved in a number of big accidents over the course of his career. And at one point, it was the 1994 Daytona 500, and going into that year, had just lost 2 legends, non-racing related incidents the year before. But he knew how dangerous sport was, and he went in on the drivers meeting and just said, "Hey guys, you got to clean it up because you're getting way too messy out here. This is getting way too dangerous. I almost got killed last year." And when he had something to say, he made sure everyone knew it. He stood up to be I don't know if it's the right word, a locker room leader, if you will, in terms of NASCAR. I mean, Rusty was always a guy who saw him as brothers in a way.
Yeah, and hey, longevity, man, longevity. His final Cup Series win came in 2004, and even in 2005, even though he didn't get a win, he still made the chase and ended up finishing top 10 in points. So, yeah, longevity.
Rusty Wallace, absolutely deserving of a spot on this list. Ahead of him, though, at number 13, we all voted Kevin Harvick, the 2014 Cup Series champion. And we were just talking about, Rusty's surprising lack of crown jewel wins. Kevin Harvick's won just about everything. I think he has won it all. He's won the Daytona 500. He's won the Brickyard 400, I think, 3 times. All-Star race. He's won the Coke 600. He's won the Southern 500.
Burnout competition back in the day when they had that.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
Yeah, so Kevin Harvick celebrating is not the right word, but wrapping up his Cup Series career this year. I guess in a way he is celebrating at certain stops along the way. Final year of his career. Jarrett, where did we have it? Anybody jump out with their rankings?
Well, Danny had him 14th, Darian had him 13th, Chat and I had him 12th. Eric, you had him top 10 all time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I did. Yeah, well, I think when we started this list, I said that if you win a lot of big races, I do value that. And I also call it recency bias. If you won in the 2000s and 2010s, arguably NASCAR's most competitive era, I also give you some points for that. And so Harvick, did most of his damage in the 2010s when he moved over to Stewart-Haas. You could say Rodney Childers had something to do with that, but Harvick won a Daytona 500, won several big races with RCR when RCR was probably not at the top of their game. If Kevin Harvick had been in Stewart-Haas, not modern Stewart-Haas, but like a few years ago, Stewart-Haas level equipment his whole career, I don't want to say he'd be chasing down Dale Earnhardt's 76 wins, but I think he'd be in like the Kyle Busch conversation. How many wins is Harvick at? I don't know.
60.
Look at the number.
60.
He's at 60. Yeah, he and Busch are tied right now, right? Or is Busch pulled ahead this year? Because Busch is at like 61 or something.
Busch
or
would have
62.
pulled ahead.
Yeah,
he's pulled ahead, I think, but they're in the ballpark. I think Harvick would be much closer to Earnhardt's number if he'd been in truly elite equipment his whole career.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Well,
okay.
Well, looking to the playoffs, I mean, I'm including this year, 17 times in the playoffs, 5 of which were Final Four. Now Chase and playoffs, I should say, but 5 of which he finished in the Final Four in the 2010s. That's amazing consistency on a winning level for this era.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, if he would have, if RCR just would have been a tad bit better back in those days, like if he didn't have those, 2002 to 2004, 2005 seasons where I think he only won a combined 3 or 4 races up to that point, because after 2006 you started to see him win more and stuff. But of course, once he moved to Stewart-Haas Racing, he made that team his own. 2014 champion. And even today, he's still doing his thing, still putting the team on his back. So, hey, it'll say a lot how Storehouse Racing recovers once he's gone, because Kevin Harvick has been that dude for them for over a decade, or almost a decade.
Almost a decade now.
Yeah, almost a decade.
Yeah, the thing with Harvick, the thing that stands out to him, just to show how truly good of a racer that he was, I would say in a very dark time for Richard Childress Racing, and not just losing Dale Earnhardt. His last few seasons with RCR, Earnhardt got 1 win, 3 win, and then 2 wins. So he was still winning, but he wasn't doing quite what he had been. The team as a whole was kind of, showing signs that they weren't as dominant as they used to be. And he still carried them through to get 2, 1, 1, 1, 5, 1, all the way to 2010. He actually was contending for the championship. And that year got 3 wins, 4 wins in 2011, all the way to 2013, getting 4 wins. So he started helping that team continue to chug along, keep winning races. And I think without him, RCR is in a much darker place during that time period. So he was a great driver back then. Again, we dog SHR, but they brought out the best of him too, and gave him, the opportunity to win that championship that he got.
Yeah, Kevin Harvick clocks in at lucky number 13 on our list, 1 spot ahead of Harvick, and this may be because he has 1 more Cup Series championship than Harvick does, is Ned Jarrett, a 2-time Cup champion, also won 50 career Cup Series races. This stat jumped out at me. His career average finish was 9.2, and I know it was a different era in the 60s, but still, that's a pretty remarkable stat. Jarrett, where did we all have Ned Jarrett on our list?
So Eric had him 14th, Chat 13th, Danny 12th. Darian and I had him 9th all time.
All right. Okay, we're a little all over the place. So Jarrett, 9th for Ned Jarrett. I didn't mean to say it like that, but there you go.
Well, I'll put it like this. I am a big Ned Jarrett defender, not because he has the name Jarrett, but because he's somebody who, in my opinion, obviously he cannot be put in with guys like Earnhardt, Petty, Johnson, Gordon up there. But when he raced, he, in my opinion, was the best guy out there. I think he was better than Petty when they went head-to-head. I will straight up say that. I personally think, and can't put it because statistics and all that, and just logically you can't put it that way in the list, but I personally think Ned Jarrett was a better driver than Richard Petty. He retired early, but when you look at the time they raced most together, 1960 to 1964, and I'm going to bring this up. I'm going to make a video on this soon about Ned Jarrett. These 2 stat lines stood out to me. Richard Petty from 1960 to 1964, when these 2 race head-to-head, had 249 starts, 36 wins, 133 top 5s, 170 top 10s, led over 8,000 laps, 1 championship, 3.0 average finish. Ned Jarrett in the same time, 251 starts, 35 wins, so 1 less win, 1 more top 5, 134, 9 more top 10s, 179, did lead about 500 less laps, won the same amount of championships, had the exact same average finish, and I tallied it up. It was exactly 3.0 for both of them when it came to their points finishes, I should say. And their average finish was about the same. I'm sorry. I think Ned Jarrett is the most underappreciated all-time great. Curtis Turner's that most underappreciated guy in like the 20s through 40s. When it comes to all-time greats, I will die on this hill. Ned Jarrett is supremely underrated by people.
I think that's a strong argument. I don't have much else to add. Do you guys have anything to add to that?
Well, I had him 9th too, and for the same reasons as him. And I also had too. I feel like obviously had an amazing career in the CBS booth, the CBS and ESPN booths for years there, introducing a previous generation to the sport. But I don't think a lot of them realize how cold he was, man, because thank goodness he retired early, because if he did, then, Richard Petty wouldn't have 200 wins, certainly wouldn't have 7 championships, I don't think. So certainly Ned Jarrett left a lot on the table there.
He was 33 when he retired.
Yeah, only 33. Wow. So
Yeah.
He didn't even reach his prime yet, I guess, if you want to say. So still had plenty of time left. But he'll be one of those what ifs, but man, his body, the body of work he left behind though, it's enough to get him in the top 15 at least of our list. So yeah.
Absolutely. No, well deserved. Ned Jarrett, 12th place. Last driver we're going to talk about tonight is 11th place, Tony Stewart, a 3-time NASCAR Cup Series champion. He was also, I believe, the last Cup Series driver to win a title as both a driver and an owner. That was 2011 with Stewart Haas Racing, his one championship he got with SHR. But 49 career wins. I mean, I've said it before, I was not a Tony Stewart fan growing up. He was probably the only driver I actively disliked.
You were at his win, weren't you? 2007?
I was at one of his Brickyard 400 wins. Yeah. I was, yes. But I was not a Tony Stewart fan growing up. Looking back, though, as I've gotten older and done more research and grown to appreciate racing history a bit more, I do appreciate Tony Stewart, can recognize that he is one of the most all-time, he's one of the greatest all-time, all-around driving talents of the past several generations. So I don't know where I had him, Jarrett, but I'm sure I had him around 11th. I hope I didn't discredit him too bad.
You and I both had him 13th.
Okay.
Darian had him 11th. Chat 10th. Danny 9th.
Okay, never mind. I guess I was hating on him as much as anyone, but still, Tony Stewart's very well deserved. Who had him the highest, Danny, or who did you say?
Danny.
Yeah, that could be recency bias, but I think overall as a driver of everything, Tony's been able to pretty much do everything except win a Daytona 500. But I think I say this about a few drivers. I said this about Rusty Wallace. He could have had more championships if he wasn't in there with Gordon and Earnhardt. Same thing with Tony Stewart. He got 3 championships, but he was also the first guy to finally dethrone Jimmy Johnson. And, his championships were mixed in of guys like Jeff Gordon with, Jimmy Johnson, so he's, he was, for most of the 2000s, if it wasn't Jimmy Johnson, it was probably Tony Stewart who won a championship. And so I would put that easily into talking that he was one of the greatest drivers of the 2000s.
Well, and look at the guys he beat. Look at the guys he beat. I know that the points, especially in 05, don't really show it. But he beat Mark Martin for his first championship. The points don't show it, but he beat Jimmy Johnson for his second, the last one to beat Jimmy Johnson until the next decade. And that was him that beat Jimmy Johnson in 2011, also beating Carl Edwards. So, I mean, you look at the caliber of competition. If we talk about guys like Mark Martin, who they lost to, you got to talk about the caliber of competition of who they beat. And I think Tony... when I think before Kyle Busch, he was the guy I thought of for just raw talent.
And we were saying that Brad Keselowski is saving Roush Fenway. Tony Stewart saved a never was gonna be team, Haas Racing. He saved them.
And also too, when he was with Joe Gibbs, I mean, that second team, that was a brand new team they were unveiling too. And at the time, this was viewed as a risk because even though he was, a champion in the old IRL series, he hadn't ran a full season in Xfinity even, and now he's going to get the opportunity in Cup. So Joe Gibbs and Home Depot really thought highly of him, and thankfully the risks paid off. He won Rookie of the Year, and statistically, I think he still has the greatest rookie season ever, or if not, the second greatest. Either him or Hamlin have. One of them had the greatest.
I got it up right here. He did finish one spot lower, but honestly, he had a better season than Hamlin. 3 wins, 12 top fives, 21 top 10. Jesus, I didn't even realize this. He had double-digit top fives from 1999 all the way to 2009.
Yeah, and even
even in 2010 and 2011, he still had 9 top fives, so he was right on the door again. But I want to double check. His first win was Richmond, right?
Yeah, Richmond 99. Yes.
Yeah. Fun fact about that one for anyone who's around the sports community: 5 Points Vids was at that race.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you told me. It's was that?
I'm supremely jealous. First win. I'm so jealous.
And then this doesn't really get looked at as much, but in 2009, his first year being an owner driver, his first win was that All-Star race, right?
Yes.
And I thought that was a big statement right there to say, like, hey, like, we're working hard, and then go out and immediately get your team $1 million.
Yeah. And don't forget about the Watkins Glen win 2004. Don't forget about that. And also, too, one final good fact. 99 to 2013 had at least one win per season. So for that, now, obviously the later years of his career, on and off the track weren't the greatest at times, but his body of work is still good enough to put him just under the top 10.
He's one of the select number of drivers that in their final season he did get a win. So
yeah, good for
And
him.
I'm sorry, you got to be an all-time great to win after crapping your pants.
Yeah, because I was on lap 10, so there was still a long way to go. And he was like, "No,
I'm sorry, I will never, ever get the vision out of my head. One of Bill Weber trying to hold back laughter in front of his hauler, but then on top of that, of having like 500 people in victory lane standing in front of a car that literally reeks of shit.
I just want to eventually there to be an interview with the guy who had to clean that car afterwards.
Oh God, yeah, I'm sure he was happy.
Tony,
about that.
don't eat Taco Bell the night before.
Nah, yeah. Tony Stewart, number 11.
Yeah, our top 15 through 11. Again, Junior Johnson was 15th. We had Rusty Wallace 14th, Kevin Harvick 13th, Ned Jarrett 12th, and Tony Stewart 11th. So those of you keeping track at home, that means we've got some pretty big names, maybe some surprises that snuck into the top 10, but you'll have to stay tuned until next week's show to find out who 10 through 6 are. Again, we appreciate everyone for voting earlier this year on the top 75 list, and we appreciate you all following along. Gentlemen, we are nearing the top of the second hour, which means I think we've kept our viewers waiting long enough. It's time to talk Indianapolis. There is a lot of racing going on this weekend. There's the SRX race. There's the trucks at IRP. And then just across town, there's Cup and Xfinity on the Indy Road Course. Also IndyCar, although I don't think we're going to pick for the IndyCar race. But let's get into it. A few notes first and foremost. Last year and the year before, Turn 1 was kind of a disaster for at least the Cup Series. The restart zone has been moved back towards before the final corners to hopefully allow the field to get a little more spread out before they get to that Turn 1. Elton Sawyer of NASCAR did say that the possibility of single file restarts does exist, like that could happen. They also changed the rule that if you try to shortcut Turn 1 like Chastain did, you now must also come to a complete stop. A few notable drivers: Shane Van Gisbergen, we've talked about, will drive the 41 for Nice in the truck race. He will drive Trackhouse's Project 91, looking to defend his Chicago win. He'll try to go 2 for 2. Mike Rockenfeller, who's announced, will drive the Legacy Motor Club 42 for both this race and Watkins Glen. Kamui Kobayashi, sports car star, will drive the number 67 for 23XI Racing. And Brody Kostecki, another Australian V8 Supercars driver, will be in a third RCR car driving the number 33, that black and green machine. So let's go through some important race info. I'll go in chronological order, beginning with the Superstar Racing Experience racing at Eldora tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time on ESPN. Weather looking good, 82 degrees, somewhat cloudy and humid, but only a 25% chance of rain, which is a win this day and age in racing. Tony Stewart won here 2 years ago, the last time Eldora raced. And then, Jarrett, do you have the entry list? I know at least one name on there that I'm excited about.
Yeah, pulling it up right here. So this is the starting lineup for Heat 1. Ron Capps will start first. Bobby Labonte, Tony Stewart, Brad Keselowski, Ken Schrader, Ryan Newman, Haley Deegan, Marco Andretti, Matt Kenseth, Austin Dillon, Tony Kanaan, and Chase Briscoe.
Oh yeah, Briscoe's racing. He's like, I guess technically the local star for this one. Austin Dillon. I forgot Austin Dillon was going to do an SRX race. So that's the SRX tomorrow night on, let me make sure I get this right. On Friday, the truck race, the T-Sport 200 will take place at IRP. It's a 200-lap race scheduled to start 9 p.m. Eastern on FS1 and MRN. Only an 8% chance of rain that night, and Grant Enfinger is the defending winner. Then we move over to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Road Course. On Saturday, the Xfinity Series will race in the Pennzoil 150 presented by Advance Auto Parts. It's a 62-lap race. It'll be on USA Network and IMS Radio beginning at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time. There's a 40% chance of rain. Most of the rain is expected that morning. Hopefully it all clears out. AJ Allmendinger is the defending winner, and I do believe he is on the entry list for this race this weekend. The Cup race is on Sunday. at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time on Big NBC, also IMS Radio. It's the Verizon 200 at the Brickyard. It's 82 laps, only a 19% chance of rain, 85 degrees. Hopefully that holds up. We do have rain tires if worse comes to worse. Tyler Reddick won this race 1 year ago. Darian, who does Vegas have as the betting favorites for the Cup race?
Yes. It's time for the betting odds on the NASCAR Weekly Podcast. The favorites for this weekend's race at Indy: Martin Truex Jr. at plus 400, Tyler Reddick at plus 550, Chase Elliott plus 750, SVG at plus 1,000, along with Kyle Busch. As for the best of the rest, Kyle Larson and Christopher. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to ask, am I the only one who thinks Martin Truex Jr. is favored way too high for this race?
Hey, that's what the betting odds told me. So hey, I'm just giving you the numbers, but yeah, a little bit, kind of, but anyways, Kyle Larson and Christopher Bell both entered this weekend at plus 1,100. AJ Allmendinger plus 1,600. Daniel Suarez and Brody come in at 1,800. Denny Hamlin plus 2,000. Chris Buescher plus 2,200, coming off of 2 straight wins. William Byron plus 2,500. Michael McDowell plus 2,800, and Joey Logano plus 3,500 for the underdogs. A lot closer this weekend, so hey, take advantage of those underdogs, man. I know there's some guys who are usually not underdogs, but betting wise, they're definitely underdogs this weekend, so take full advantage. Now, moving on really quick to the NWP Fantasy League standings. Let me pull those up really quick. Hold on, wrong league. I'm leading in this other league I have pulled up, but that's not one of the leagues that we were going to go over. Sean 48NY leads the main league. He's built a pretty sizable lead. Damn near 100 points, 99 to be exact, over Polish Victory Lap in P2, Trevor Sports 98 P3. Denny Delivers and 48 Nation are currently in a tie for P4. Now, as for the NWP Fantasy League 2, Racer War 48 in P1 over JC_43, Vroom HMS in P3, 42 Larson 5, and rounding out the top 5 is your very own Black Flags Matter. So,
Nice.
So doing decent in that. And I'd say I'm doing decent in the pick points, wouldn't you say? At least, point differential wise,
You're not in the basement, and you have closed in on the leaders in the last couple of weeks. But
really, compared to recent years, none of us are doing bad per se.
Yeah, really not. Yeah.
This parity in this next gen pick points era is unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
But the NASCAR Weekly Podcast pick points are as follows. Chat, you're still holding on to the lead. You have 405 total points. I'm 10 points back, still within striking distance, trying to hold on. Jarrett has actually gained some. He's only 38 points back in third place. Darian, you're minus 47. And Danny, currently bringing up the rear, minus 60. But like you said, that's a lot closer. Usually someone's behind by triple digits by now. Not so fast this season.
I'm just happy that the most points you can make up this weekend, if everything were to go right for me and wrong for the chat, would be 39. So I could, mathematically, I could be the points leader, which is better than I could say last year.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Challenge accepted. So we'll get started with the SRX, correct, Jared?
Mm-hmm.
All right, I will lead things off. This is probably my only chance this year to pick my boy. He's not a dirt racer, but if I remember correctly, last year I think he did like Knoxville or something, or no, he did one of the dirt races, and I think he finished second or maybe third. So I'm going Matt Kenseth. Matt Kenseth wins the SRX race. Get me some bonus points, boy.
Well, unfortunately, my finishes this year now are 1-1-1-2 for the SRX. So my streak ended. But I do think that the hometown guy is going to do pretty well this week. I'm going to go Briscoe in this one. I think Briscoe will get it done.
Going with old reliable Tony Stewart, coming clutch for me.
Far this season, we've seen good results out of people when they make their very first SRX start. And my guy won the very first NASCAR race at Eldora Speedway. I'm going with Austin Dillon for this one.
I like it. The chat is fairly unanimous, though, picking Tony Stewart to win at, I guess, the track that he owns. Literally.
Yep. So you and me, chat, let's get some bonus points. What do you say?
So that was pretty easy to follow. So next we'll move on to our Truck Series winner. Again, I'll lead things off. It's a short track. I'm going Ty Majeski.
Yeah, same. I think after that Richmond race, that's got to be the favorite.
I will not be going with Ty Majeski. I'll go with Zane Smith this weekend. See if he gets
Not
it done.
bad. This is their playoff opener, correct?
Yes, it is.
All right. Okay.
This race is the T Sport 200. I'm going with the T Sport truck team. Ty Majeski as well.
Oh, good fun.
Man, the chat is all over the place.
Whoa.
I
Might
feel
have to
like
do a
I'm
poll. You might have to do
I
a poll.
think I'm
for that.
seeing more Majeskis, but
I'm
I've also seen a lot of Zanes
I'm
and some Kosovar.
I would do. I'm not saying as much Hocevar as them the other two. I would do Majeski and Zane Smith.
Yeah, I would do those too.
That sounds good. I'll do let's see,
I,
Zane.
I see one guy trying for Matty D, but it's not happening.
It's not happening. Hey, he's in the playoffs at least though. So yes, you can root for him for that.
He did get there.
Hang the
So,
banner.
Yeah.
It is pretty big. I'll let that poll run for a moment while we make our Xfinity Series picks. I think this one could be a bit more unanimous. Well, maybe not. 'Cause I'm going Ty Gibbs.
Just saying, they could go Zane on that truck poll because they've got a 10-point gap on you that they can afford to do this with that gap.
Yeah, they could.
Yeah, I'm gonna go AJ.
All right, AJ.
Yeah, I'll go with AJ as well. I keep not picking him, so I got to stop that. So AJ, I'll go with him. But Eric, you said Ty Gibbs is your pick.
Ty Gibbs is my
Okay.
pick.
All right, cool.
Yeah, everyone but Eric is saying AJ, even the chat.
Wow. So Eric's
Did
the lone wolf.
Did y'all not see all the brake issues colleague had at Road America?
That was one race weekend.
That was just a fluke.
But it was multiple cars. I'm just saying.
It was just a fluke weekend.
You live and you learn.
Yeah, but hey,
Yeah,
Eric,
I hope
if he
so.
wins, you can gain some points. So yeah, better hope he fails.
I'm closing this poll, and I know that there's a delay, but in my time, I'm closing this poll in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. End poll. Looks like 51%, close to 52% said Zane Smith will win the truck race. All right, we got
this could alter the point standings.
So I just realized. So basically, me and the chat, we've had the same pick so far. All three of them.
Right.
Yeah, we had all three of our picks be the same so far.
So next, let's see, we've done trucks and Xfinity. Now we get to the Cup race. Let's start with who's gonna suck. Oh my gosh, I just realized I'm gonna sound like such a hater on this one. So when I was in Michigan, I asked a few of the bubble drivers, hey, especially guys like McDowell, Gibbs, Allmendinger, they're good road racers. I asked, hey, with these road course races coming up, like how confident are you in your road course program? Do you feel good about where you're at in points? And the first thing AJ Allmendinger said to me was, I don't think I'd ever use the word confident. And then he went on to talk about how they blew the setup at Chicago. So everyone has Allmendinger on their short list of favorites this weekend. Like this is a race that's circled. He's going to be in contention. He's likely going to lead laps. I think Allmendinger will be fine, but I don't think he'll be top 5. And I don't think he'll ever seriously be in contention for the win. So in that case, I'm saying AJ Allmendinger is my set pick. He's not going to be 30th, but he'll be like 10th, or at the very least, there'll be an issue, a mistake. You won't be in contention for the win.
Yeah, I'm just going to be shorter and sweeter and right to the point. Alex Bowman.
I could learn from you, Jared. I'm not usually good at being short and sweet and to the point.
I'm not either. I just wanted comedic effect.
Austin Dillon, short and sweet.
With Jared on this one, Alex Bowman, the season's a wash.
And the chat looks like they're going with Bubba. It looks like.
But
there was a handful of Bowmans in there too. I saw.
Yeah, for a
oh
moment.
my gosh, just piling on your boy.
He's no longer my boy. I'm a neutral fan these days.
Oh no! My goodness, the tide has turned.
In some places, they call that fair weather.
Let's move on to the Dark Horse Cup Series Dark Horse pick. I'm not going to switch through tabs because I forgot who I picked. Oh my gosh, this is so funny. Alex Bowman is my Dark Horse. Yeah, well, he's a decent road racer. I still think back he was in contention for that Coda win a couple years ago. Could have stole that, but he's also had more speed lately. He has been quicker. I think they had a top 10 car, maybe even top 5 at Michigan. I know it's a completely different type of track, but I think they're starting to find something again. Let's hope it translates to a top 5 or at least top 10 run.
It's just kind of funny because Claudia has noted this to me. It seems like there have been years past where it felt like Eric was a hater against Bowman while I defended him. Now the roles are reversed all of a sudden.
I know. How did this happen?
It's funny. It's funny.
Well, I'm gonna go with somebody that the chat picked to suck a lot. This guy, I think, has gotten better at road courses. I think has a bit of momentum on his side. As long as the crew doesn't screw him over, I'm gonna go Bubba Wallace as a dark horse. Yeah, I mean, didn't get top 5 here last year.
Yeah, a lot of stuff happened, but he still got it. He still got it.
Stuff being the nice word.
Yeah. Yeah, but I will go with one of the road course ringers this weekend for 2311. Kobayashi. I think that's how you say it. Hopefully I said it right. But his former not only a sports car star, but also a former Formula One driver as well. So I think he's raced on the original layout in F1 before, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Chat, if you want to confirm that with me, but I will go with him as my underdog.
And for me, my underdog is always my underdog at these road courses, Jenson Button. He does way better than he should in a Rick Ware car at these road courses.
Mm-hmm.
I'm distracted by the chat because I think they're going either Brody Kostecki or Shane Van Gisbergen as their underdog. And this is crucial because they could pick one of these guys to win, namely SVG.
I saw 91.
Big
I know. So chat right now, the next like 20 seconds, give me 91 or 33, and we're gonna eyeball it and see who y'all are picking because this is important. This could have an
and I think we should get this before we move on to picks. Yeah. I don't want that to persuade this.
Exactly.
Okay.
That's why
I'm seeing a lot of 33s. Yeah,
they're going 33.
Yeah, I think so. I think they want to keep that SVG bullet in the chamber just in case.
They want to make sure.
It's close though. It's close. All right. So you know what time it is, Darian?
Yes. All right. It's time for the main event, everybody. Who's gonna win? Who's gonna win at Indy this weekend? Eric?
This may be a little bit of a surprise. Kyle Busch finished second at Coda, second at Sonoma earlier this year, and that 8 car dominated here 1 year ago. So Kyle Busch, that's my pick.
I don't know how this dude's going to do in general at ovals, but this weekend, from what it sounds like NASCAR is going to do outside of rain, is going to line up a lot like Chicago. So I'm going to go with Shane Van Gisbergen. I'm going to say his name right, unlike Jeff Burton, Dale Jr.
Shane Van
Shane Van SVG. I'm going with the 91. Even if he doesn't win, I think he's going to be up front. And again, these rules that they're talking about doing, I think they line up really, really well with how the Chicago rules and where he excelled.
The less chaos, the better it works out for SVG and really all the non-NASCAR guys in the field.
Yeah. All right. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. SVG, please get the win for me.
Was that like a haiku?
I don't know. I just came up. I came up with that. I came up with that on the fly. So
yeah, it went more like 5, 7, 35.
SVG though, get the W.
I'm also going with SVG, and I'll be honest, I don't think it's unanimous in the chat. I'm seeing a lot of Kyle Larson and SVG
and Tyler Reddick.
Yeah. I see a lot of Reddick too. I might have to poll this.
Yeah, you got to poll this.
I think it's a 3-driver poll, which makes these more interesting to give them 3 options.
Yeah. So what is it? Reddick, SVG, and Larson.
Yeah, man, a lot of Reddicks are starting to pour in. This is going to be interesting. We're going to run that poll here for a few minutes. This has major implications right here. While we let that run for a few moments, I am going to get to a few super chats, and then we'll come back to that. J-Man earlier sent 5. Will Chase Elliott make it into the playoffs? There are 2 road courses left until they start, or will he fumble? I'm on record saying I think he wins Watkins Glen, but I understand putting all your eggs in that basket is tricky. So it's 50-50 at this point. Spanky G, thanks for the 5. I think it's now safe to say that Noah Gragson is and I don't know who this guy is. I don't want to accidentally say something offensive. He's the somebody, I think I've heard this name before, of NASCAR. I don't know if that's like a YouTuber who got in hot water or something.
Yeah, don't take the risk.
I don't want to take the risk. I don't want to make light of a potentially serious situation. But thank you for the super chat. Irvin Alvarado, thanks for the 5. Don't worry, the 2311 pit crew is left behind in Michigan after they told them they will leave to pick up milk. Oh, man.
Damn.
Dark twist on that joke there. Andrew Waring, Hot take: regular season champion auto advances to the final four. I think that would give enough incentive and really make the fans care. My only concern with that is I don't want them to then just be off for 9 weeks. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no way. No
Yeah.
way, man.
I
No
mean, if
Maybe
they
you
have
way.
a
could give
first
them-
round bye, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could do that. I would see that. Or maybe just give them, instead of a few, like 15 playoff points, give them 20, give them 30. Give
But
them
he
a-
said
The big
Oh my
problem is that instead of changing this stuff, NASCAR needs to market it as important. Like, why should I think it's important if NASCAR doesn't mention it until like the end of Daytona?
Oh,
It
by the
does
way,
feel like
guys,
an
we have a
afterthought.
new regular season champion. Like, oh, well, I didn't know that's going on.
A quick update on the poll. It is neck and neck right now. I'll come back to it in a couple minutes and we'll make a decision, but it is tight. Thank you, CJ Sandel. Hi, y'all. I'm going to Indianapolis this weekend. It'll be my first cup race in 7 years.
Wow.
That's amazing.
nice.
Well, have
Nice.
fun out there, CJ. I think it'll be a good time.
Yeah.
Nick sent 5 earlier. Larson is the only person with double-digit top 5s this year so far. I think he's a sleeper pick for the final 4. I mean, that probably is true. He's also one of the league leaders in DNFs, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Although that has calmed down in recent weeks. He's been a little more consistent. So yeah, maybe trending in the right direction. That could be. YNS Dark Z sent 10 earlier. I became a NASCAR fan because of Kyle Busch when I was 8 in 2012. Last year, he blocked me on Twitter because I said he should drive the number 29 car when he went to RCR. I'm now a Bubba Wallace fan. Sorry, KB.
Damn.
Damn, man.
Wow. So Kyle
Wow.
Busch is as soft as his fans.
Yeah,
Oh
for
my
real.
gosh, that's
And he left too. He's like, no, that's it. I'm gonna be above.
wow.
That's funny.
Parker sent 5, said, me and the girlfriend were at the track, and as a Reddick fan, it was fun watching him lead, but not so fun watching the pit crew fumble. Yeah,
Yeah.
that stinks to see, Parker, but I hope y'all had a good time. Stayed mostly dry. J Card C, I think I'm saying that right. What's your guys' favorite Dirty Mo Media podcast?
Probably, I'd say maybe Denny's then. I don't know because I always see it all the time.
I'd say Denny's because it's content. Like it gives me something to talk about every day.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be real. I don't really listen to him all that much. I mean, I guess old Dale Jr. download clips were fun, but you kind of, I don't know. The well is running dry a little bit.
I'm like Jarrett. Honestly, it's just not. It's just
Yeah.
not for me. I'm not much of a podcast listener. I just prefer watching.
Or making them.
Yeah, I like doing our podcast, but it doesn't really feel like a traditional podcast either. It feels more like a gaming stream. We're just not gaming.
Yeah.
We're just
I'd say
chilling.
that.
We're just hanging out.
I've never heard of it said that way, but it sounds so perfect.
It's true. Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
NASCAR Bluey Taco Box says ridiculous that 17 out of 25 weekends this season have been involved with Mother Nature. Yeah, that is pretty wild.
agree.
The poll is still like a dead tie. That's crazy.
Wow.
Video Game Sports sent 5. This is for all 4 of you. Name a driver who's never made a cup start who will be a cup champion one day. For me, it's Sammy Smith.
Mm.
Corey Heim. I'm going Heim time, baby. I'm on the bandwagon. His interviews are just textbook NASCAR. I feel like he's just got like a good head on his shoulders. I like Corey Heim. I'll go Corey Heim.
I guess I'll go with Zane. Well, not Zane Smith, with Sammy Smith. I guess you could say.
God, yeah, that is.
That's hard. I can't really think of anyone.
I would.
Yeah.
I guess I'd go with Sammy Smith, but
There's just not many people. I'm looking through the standings of the other series. There's not many people who haven't made a start.
I'll throw a curveball at you guys. Somebody who has a ton of potential. I think this is
Frankie
what.
Muniz.
No, Nick Sanchez.
Yeah.
He has a
Yeah.
ton of potential, and when he has the truck underneath him, shows out. So, if there's somebody that I'm going to go out of nowhere with, why not try Nick Sanchez?
Yeah. And also, Frankie Muniz isn't too far behind now. I don't know. We'll see.
Bailey sent 2.
I'll raise one more. I didn't get my answer. Raja. Maybe one day.
Okay.
Maybe.
Someone said Nick Midches in the chat. I don't know about that. He's been pretty good this year. He's had some good
Yeah.
points. Yeah, host of ours made a cup start though, and also so is Zane Smith. So some people in the chat, I think,
Mhm.
The question was, who
Yeah,
hasn't made a cup
I
start?
almost said Hosevar, but I was like, wait a minute, he did.
He made one.
Someone said Brexton Bush. That's not a bad idea. It's not even officially there yet.
Yeah.
That's not bad at all. Should I end the poll? It is a
Yeah,
slim
yeah.
lead.
you gotta end it. Might as well end it.
Yeah.
I think we
Time.
do.
It's a 3% difference.
Yeah.
It is. I cannot click with my mouse. It is Shane Van Gisbergen by a slim margin over Tyler Reddick. That's your pick, chat. Good luck. May the best pick win. I'm gonna wrap up with these super chats here. Thank you all so much for the support. Bailey sent 2 earlier tonight. Said Riley Herbst's consistency is back. 3 top 10s in a row. Hey, could he be a contender for the 10 car if Almirola retires?
And if you got that money,
give me the
yeah,
money.
why not? Yeah, why not?
Go Snake Man said, I wish they would bring tandem racing back. We kind of saw that at Michigan with Reddick and Buescher sort of working together to keep the gap to Truex. It's not what he's talking about, but it's kind of like that. The slow Pontiac, it's an interesting name. Could Dodge, and the question, could Dodge return to NASCAR? We need a new OEM. What about slow Pontiacs? That slow Pontiac, I'm surprised at your question.
And bring them out of business, but bring them back to business. But no, I mean, look, we've been hearing this for years. Look, I'll believe it when I see it at this point. I want Dodge back too, but we've been hearing the same song and dance for a while.
Oh God, Ross Crashtain. If I had a nickel for every time the driver of the 42 did something racist online, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't much, but it's weird that it happened twice. Hey, we kind of joked about this in our chat the other day, but the only good thing Matt Kenseth did in the 42 is not get canceled.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much.
Hey, we better be careful. We don't want to have someone send an email to her.
NASCAR Bluey Taco Box, another 2. NASCAR Ford driver to win back-to-back at Richmond, or next Ford driver to win back-to-back at Richmond, Michigan. Why not Brad? I'm gonna throw Brad's name out there.
I'll say Brad Keselowski.
I think if he wanted his home track, because he said he'd rather win that than the Daytona 500, I think Brad would cry.
Yeah, that would be pretty special. Garabuki sent 10. Lesson learned from Noah. And this is, I think, what maybe you said, Jarrett. If you enjoy offensive or dark humor, basically get a burner account. Says it was a stupid move, but dang, I hate that one idiotic mistake could end someone with generational talent. I think that kind of echoes our thoughts.
I don't know about the generational talent part, but he's still good.
Yeah, I don't know about generational talent. He's good. He's a talent. I don't know about generation. That's fair, but
get a burner
for sure.
Everyone should have a burner account, even if it's not for something like that. Even if it's just for perusing on Twitter or X.
Just for like following like your family and like personal, like more
just
like a
personal, in case.
Yeah,
just in case.
The RC guy sent a $10 super chat. What's up, everybody? How y'all doing today? Did y'all hear about Paul Tracy being suspended from the SRX?
Yeah, like a couple of weeks ago. Yes, we heard about that.
Yeah, we did hear. I think you did a video on that, didn't you, Darian?
Oh, no, I had to put that on the back burner because he has so many freaking incidents that I need to find. Like, there's so many, bro.
I'm remembering your, didn't you do a bust video on him like last year?
An SRX bust video, actually,
yes,
yeah. And it's funny how that aged well now. It's like, yep, I was right.
Yeah, it really did. I think it popped up in my recommended the other day, which is why I was thinking
you should call it part 1.
I'll do the part 2. Yeah, I could do a part 2. Yeah, honestly, I'll do that. Why not?
M. Martin fan for life says Zane Smith probably already has a deal elsewhere, and Front Row did the signing to make sure they keep the other 2. That's possible.
Kind of goes into what I was saying.
It definitely does. It's not really how their statement was worded, but like you're saying, Danny, I think there's still a good chance Zane ends up somewhere potentially more competitive than Front Row. So he may still win out, or this may work out for him in the long run. Regardless. Garabuki sent another 5. The Camila Cabello chat guy, and yes, I have seen this person in the chat, is the weekly hype man and deserves a shout out.
Yep.
I've seen that every week since season 1. I don't know what it means.
I don't know what it means either. Yeah, a NASCAR fan 93100 just sent another one like a few minutes ago. I'm seeing it now. That's very happy. Yes, definitely deserves a shout out. There you go. There's your shout out.
There's your shout out.
8-Bit Ghost Ripper Dragon sent 5. Am I the only one that misses going to whatever the championship venue is only once per year? I don't want it to be predictable. It's a fair point, actually. I said in my video today that I don't mind giving the teams an early look at the championship track, but I mean, I guess they didn't get that opportunity with Homestead for many years. So actually, Ghost Ripper Dragon here has a good point. Maybe I'm changing my mind.
By the way, I'm just looking at Camila Cabello is a Cuban American singer songwriter.
TikToker?
No,
wait, y'all don't know who that
singer.
is?
No, I've heard her. I thought is she not on TikTok?
Says no, she's not big on TikTok. Well, that's not where she come from. She was a member of the group Fifth Harmony.
Oh, okay, that sounds familiar. Yeah, okay.
I did not know that.
Wait,
I know Fifth Harmony.
Wait a minute. Have y'all ever heard the song Havana?
Is that her?
Yeah. Camila
Oh,
I
Cabello.
have heard that
well
song.
then, yeah, I've heard that then.
Okay, I was about to
Alright.
say, I'm like, oh
Yeah.
my God, for once, I'm not the one culturally living under a rock.
Look at Jarrett, his pop culture references on
He was
point.
like, he was checking up on it. Like,
No,
have y'all not heard?
That's one of my marathon playlist.
Oh,
So
okay.
what does that have to do with super chats?
They think she's super.
Yeah, I guess
Oh,
so.
that's fair. Austin Blancett sent 5, said, hey guys, love y'all, hope you're doing good.
Thank you.
Quick discussion, where do we stand on the idea of the Daytona 500 rotating TV partners every year?
I would like that, but Fox would be like, no, we don't want to do that.
I would like to hear Dale Jr. commentate at Daytona 500. If that means that he has to do what he did at Talladega that one year and hang out Fox for a day, I would just love to hear it.
Yeah, I'd love to have it just because I love the different ways they cover it, and it felt like they built on each other a bit when they did it. But if I think if Fox just ups their game a bit, I don't think we'll mind it anymore. Like we probably didn't until about 17, 18.
I just don't need a skip before the Daytona 500.
Yeah, that's fair.
I thought their pre-race actually, like with the old champions and all that, and the way that they presented it, that's how the Daytona 500 should be presented every year, and I love that.
Yeah,
they just need to work on their last lap presentation. This year it was the call was completely
garbage.
lack of energy. Last year it was the camera angles. They had like a top-down view of the finish. What happened to the iconic like behind the flag stand sort of?
Yeah, I missed those, man. I missed
or
those.
when the photo finish between Harvick and Mark Martin when it was on that wire. Those are cinematic shots. Why do we have a helicopter, blimp shot for the finish of the Daytona 500? A top-down view. It's a small thing, but it bothers me.
Lazy.
8-Bit Ghoster for Dragon sent 5. I don't know if it's been mentioned, but with all the Andretti ties and sponsors, and sponsor even Honda ? As much as I'd rather see Euro flavor, Audi, BMW. Okay, I think I read this horribly wrong with grammar. They're asking about Honda coming into NASCAR as opposed to a European manufacturer like Audi or BMW.
I mean, I could see it with the whole Andretti connection, but again, a lot more would have to happen. But I mean, Andretti, they've been partnered with Honda for years. So if anybody were to join, I could see them doing that if Andretti comes to NASCAR.
It's I know that's always been rumored before about Honda coming to NASCAR, so I would say that's probably the most likely. I don't see any coming to NASCAR in the next 2 or 3 years, so.
Yeah, it seems like kind of just that well is dried up for the time being.
So can we up the horsepower now since no manufacturers are coming
please,
in?
Yeah, so now there's no reason not to add more horsepower.
2 super chats here from Austin Blancett. Not condoning what he liked, but I do believe we're setting a dangerous precedent by suspending people for social media. I mean, there's different tiers. I think.
Yeah, there's different tiers and stuff. It's a lot different when you're a public figure, though, and
it is.
It's a lot different.
And there's obviously different. Yeah, like what you guys like. They're something you can do worse thing. There's tiers. He also said that fans shouldn't stalk people on social media.
I agree. Yeah,
I guess, but that's what fans do,
especially for clout.
Yeah, well, that again, there's certainly a line that can easily be crossed.
Leave it with that.
8-Bit Ghost Ripper Dragon says Rusty's Wallace, big fan, I suppose, and said Raising Cane's sponsorship when, Eric?
Yeah, when are you getting?
I need that. They got Post Malone, I guess. He was probably cheaper. My rates were too high.
Just set up a partnership with you and Ryan Ellis to make it happen.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
I like that. That paint scheme was hot. Did they make a die cast for it? I should have pre-ordered it.
I hope they do.
I'll find out.
And I should have thrown some support behind it, try to get it to the minimum order quantity. Austin sent another 5. Rusty Wallace's tributes to Alan, Davey, and Dale alone put him on the list, not to mention he's one of the best drivers ever, coming from a Gordon fan. So yeah, a lot of support for our Rusty Wallace pick. Ghost Ripper Dragon says, cheer up, Danny. Elliott might be in must-win territory, but at least Bowman didn't wreck on Sunday. Oh, wait. Never mind. Just saw what happened on Monday. Dang. They're piling on.
That was cold.
Blake sent 2, said Ned Jarrett was also a fun broadcaster. I think, we mentioned that. He was also great on TV and on radio. Alex Left sent 5. I was a Tony Stewart fan growing up, and I hated Matt Kenseth back in the day. Sorry, Eric.
By the way, sadly, no Ryan Ellis Raising Cane Sidecast.
Damn.
Oh,
That sucks.
next time. Next time. Jimmy Leo sent 5. Did you know that Gary Owen has your out of the group Brennan Poole Xfinity Series car on a next gen in NASCAR Heat 5?
Nice.
I've seen someone, I forget their username, made it in like NASCAR 14 or NASCAR 15 using that paint booth, and it looked so cool, which was really awesome.
Gary's awesome though. Shout out to Gary Owen.
Yeah, Gary Owen's cool.
I'll have to check that out in case I missed it. Jam Plays Games said SVG risking that 100% win percentage this weekend. Yeah, but I think everyone but me on this panel picked him to win, so I don't know. He might keep it up, make it even more impressive. Fred Dog says, does MJ need more or less or the same amount of involvement in 2311? Can Hamlin do more himself, or is it too much with his own stuff? Good luck moving, Eric. Well, thank you, Fred Dog. I don't know that MJ needs to be too involved in the day-to-day. Yes, he's a race fan, but does he really fully understand how to make race cars go fast? No, probably not.
I'm going to assume no. So the answer is no, not a whole lot. Like just right now is good. What he's doing now is good.
He brings money and he brings,
his brand. Yeah, exactly. That's all brand.
They need. Yeah. Napa Racing fan, loved your schedule video. A- schedule. Didn't love it that much, I guess.
A-.
I'd replace second Richmond with Iowa, Axe Texas, go back to the Charlotte Oval for the fall, and have one Atlanta date. Those are fair changes, except you can't Axe Texas. You need a race in Dallas Fort Worth. I don't care if it sucks. You need a race in North Texas. It has to be that way. It just does. Alex asks, hey guys, how many races have each of you attended? I lost count.
I don't know, bro.
I can't count.
I'm definitely more than one for sure.
I'm closing it. I know I'm close. If we're talking just Cup, I'm closing in on 50. I might actually be there. I'm not sure yet. I'll have to go back and count.
I wish I could tell you, bro. Like, I have no clue. I have no idea.
just Cup, I'm at least in the mid 30s because I've been to like 30 just in the past 3 years.
Yeah, so, we all took sort of our like post-COVID tour around the Cup schedule in 21.
We did.
I'm probably in the 40s is my guess. So trying to keep going up. Evan Hopkins says Kaz Grala max potential. We haven't talked much about Kaz Grala lately. He had a good run going at Road America.
Yeah, if he can just get some funding together, then maybe he can start to run better and stuff.
Did he run the Daytona 500 this year or last year?
He ran it for the money team last year. Yeah, he lost the wheel, remember?
And speaking of that, as money team, are they gone again?
I don't know. I saw something about their merch.
Were they ever recently really here?
We found out about money team in 2019, the day before my wedding, and it took them until 2022 to finally show up.
Weren't we at Waffle House?
We were at a Waffle House.
Wow. That was your final meal, Danny, was a Waffle House?
That's the final meal.
That's pretty dope. That's pretty cool. Y'all mess some shit y'all screw some shit up?
Yeah, we went nuts. No, let's riot.
This was a tamed Waffle House thing.
Did y'all show up in like tuxedos? That would have been pretty cool, actually.
Pajamas. We fit the Waffle House attire.
Well, actually, I guess no. These two slept in, and I went with my other friends to Denny's that morning.
Oh,
cheated on Waffle House with Denny's? Oh,
well, it was the only thing in the area where the wedding was. So,
no, this is me. Don't tell Moonhead this. I prefer a Denny's to a Waffle House. Just saying. I don't know if that's sacrilegious. We're spending way too much time on super chats here. I have just a few left. I really appreciate everyone sticking with us tonight. Sean said, where is the info for the iRacing events? The NWP 400?
Well, it'll be on IDK Players channel Tuesday, August 22nd at 8 p.m. Eastern time. The dual races to qualify in are the 18th. That's Friday, same time. The drivers are already chosen for it. We have, I believe, 60 plus alternates already picked for it. But I will just say, main race, 160 laps, no stages, straight through, should be a lot of fun. The qualifying is fast four make it in, Pole, and then the three behind him. Two duels that get the top 16 in each in, and then a LCQ that gets the top 4 from that one in. And the duels are 50 laps apiece, like the old Gatorade 125s, and the LCQ is 20 laps, like the original Clash. So, trying to balance old and new.
Good stuff. Evan sent a super chat saying, "VFM, I'm still waiting on Mesa Marin Dead Speedways."
Oh yeah, Mesa Marin. Yes, that's right.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll have to get to that. There's so many dead speedways, bro.
It's sad. Ghost Snake Man 9 asks, "Would you rather have Casey Kane or Alex Bowman for Hendrick?" Like now, I think Bowman, but
Yeah.
like, are we talking about their body of work?
If we're talking at their prime, Casey Kane, but right now, Alex Bowman for sure.
Yeah.
Man, Danny, give your bone, throw him a bone or something. This is hard. It's so sad.
Okay, fine. He has 7 wins at least. So
yeah, how many wins did Casey Kane get in Hendrick equipment? It had to be like something like 7.
no, I think it's about 7.
Yeah.
So in terms of what they did for Hendrick, they're about the same now.
Yeah.
Bowman, I think, has more wins per year right now.
I gotta find this out now. I'll be right back.
Okay. Dustin Pexa sent 10. Daryl Wallace Jr. Is the what?
Yeah. What is it?
I don't. Oh, let the McNugget eating man go. That's what he's saying, to drop Bubba Wallace.
Oh, okay. Drop him. Is he's calling him the McNugget man or something?
I mean, he's obviously not a Bubba Wallace fan, but he's using like puns on his sponsors. He said DoorDash his.
If you're gonna make an insult, dude, let's make it make sense.
It is creative, but I'm not gonna dive too deep into it.
By the way, Casey Kane actually had 6 wins with Hendrick.
Oh, close.
Ooh,
that was close.
Wow.
Bowman's
He did finish 4th in points in 2012.
Peter said Kane had 5 wins. I think he's forgetting the 2017 Indy race.
Yeah, because he had two in 2012, 2 in 2013, 1 in 2014, 1 in 2017, right?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, most people could forget Indy because it didn't feel like anyone truly won that race. Once Kyle Busch and Truex took each other out, it was just a cluster after that.
Which you can watch on my channel now.
We have a few left. NASCAR Bluey says, "Unpopular opinion, I hate Sheldon Creed." Goodness gracious, where did that come from?
Okay.
Napa Racing Fan says it may be the last NASCAR race on the road course. Stacked field with SVG, Kostecki, Kobayashi, Button, and Rockefeller. If they return to the Indy Oval, will be Cup only. I hadn't thought about that. I assume they bring Xfinity with them. They did in the past. They kissed the bricks too.
Yeah.
By the way, John Irby, Casey Kane did not win the last Brickyard 400. There was still a couple more Brickyard 400s after that.
I think Harvick won.
No, Harvick won the last 2. He won the last 2. Yeah.
He did.
2?
Yeah.
He won?
Yeah, 19 and 20, didn't he?
I thought Brad.
I know he got 20.
No, Brad got 2018.
It wasn't memorable enough for me to remember.
Ross Crashdane says, "This year is a wash for us Bowman fans. When is Daytona 500 qualifying?"
That's the only way Bowman fans can have any happiness because we know we're going to be on the front row.
That's so funny.
My man here went from acting like a damn Patriots fan in their prime at the start of the year to acting like a Browns fan.
Yeah.
I'm a Tennessee Titans and Tennessee Vols fan. What do you expect? We had one brief thing 20-something years ago, and now it's just.
And then here comes Georgia.
Yeah.
We have just a few more here. Off on the Wall podcast said, "What do you think of them not making the Chevy Camaro?" They discontinue that after this year or next year, I think. I don't know how that'll affect NASCAR, but it will be interesting.
Well, RIP to bitchin' Camaro.
All right, final 3 super chats from Jimmy. Eric, are you going to post your Michigan race day vlog? I didn't really film one. I started to. The rain kind of messed me up. It was coming and going. It was hard for me to film with my camera. And then they canceled like the pre-race show with the concert, and they had all the cars under covers. So I really didn't have much to film on Sunday, unfortunately. So I don't really have one. I did take a bunch of photos you can see on my Twitter.
So feel free to go to NWP Talks and watch my vlog from 2021.
It's probably still very relevant. I can't imagine much has changed. Thank you, Alex Luft. If only I could find some Logano merch for my corgi. Oh my gosh, his profile picture is a
Oh,
corgi.
yeah. I know him. Yeah, Alex.
Oh,
yeah.
Love that.
By the way, Kevin Harvick did in fact win the last 2 Brickyard 400s. Brad Keselowski won the third to last one.
Got it.
Let's go.
Good stuff. And finally, from Austin Blansett, hey Jarrett, I need advice. I'm committing to running the St. Jude 10K with a buddy of mine for the first time.
Oh,
Any advice?
Pace yourself, but I'd say if you guys run the same pace or haven't run before, run with each other because you can also push each other to go faster, longer, however you need to go. And honestly, the most important part is breathing. That people never think about that part. They think about the legs part. They think about running for them. Breathing's the most important part because if you're just huffing and puffing the whole time, you'll be huffing and puffing on the ground. So just honestly, just relax, have fun with it, enjoy everything about it.
Good stuff. That's awesome. It sounds like it's for a good cause as well. With that being said, we have made it through the final Super Chat stage break. Really appreciate everyone's very generous support. Boys, we ran long. We were making such good time in the first half. It crashed to a
we had a lot to talk
halt.
about. So
And the chat, you all were extremely engaged tonight. A lot of great conversation and good memes, including the banana emojis, which I saw returned here just in time for the end of the stream. But thank you everyone for tuning in tonight. Everyone listening on Spotify or wherever you get your podcast, we appreciate you tuning in. We will all be back here same next week, Wednesday night. We'll be on the Icebergs channel. However, Jarrett, you will be taking over hosting duties in 7 days. So everyone enjoy Indianapolis this weekend. IRP, Indy Road Course, could be the last Indy Road Course NASCAR race for quite some time. We will see you all in a week. Have a wonderful rest of your evening, folks. Thanks for tuning in.
goodbye.
That's the front, but I can go get us a W. Hell yeah. Ready, green. What the copy? Right foot down. We had to go, Cred. Unbelievable, man. Way to keep your head in this. Holy boy. Oh, boy. Yeah. What? Yeah. I'm done with it. It's your face. Set sail. Steve, you look beautiful. Doing great.